Chapter 326. This was something that both sides had agreed upon in the morning, but people outside of the two schools didn't know about it. Duo looked confused. What? Life and death ring? What is life and death ring? All the referees' faces changed when they heard this. Life and death ring? Wu Yuntian wanted to start a life and death ring because of this? You were exposed for scolding a teacher, and now you want to fight with the person who exposed you? If this wasn't pure revenge, then what was? It seemed that this guy's heart was narrow-minded and evil to a certain extent. On the stage, a female referee was already yelling, Wu Yuntian, calm down. Don't let your emotions affect your decisions. Duo also had a look of understanding and comforted him. Wu Yuntian, you really have to calm down, it was just an accident. Besides, the teachers didn't blame you, right? You don't have to be so angry. It's important to calm down before a big battle. He was actually trying to be a good person. Wu Yuntian was completely mad at this moment, and he asked loudly, Duo, you don't dare? You coward. This morning. Duo interrupted him with a fierce expression. Who doesn't dare? I just feel that it's a bit too much to fight to the death over such a small matter. Wu Yuntian yelled. I'm only asking you if you dare. Do you sign it or not? Duo's chest heaved up and down, and his eyes were full of anger. He looked like a pitiful and honest student who was forced to the extreme, and even his breathing was heavy. After a while, he said with grief and indignation, You want to kill me over such a small matter? Wu Yuntian yelled, I already planned to fight with you in the life and death ring. Why you don't dare to sign it? Who said I want to fight with you in the life and death ring? Duo was furious. Do you really want to kill me? Wu Yuntian's face was ferocious. Coward! You don't dare to admit what you promised? Are you afraid of death at this moment? You don't want to sign it? You don't dare? His interrogation grew more and more contemptuous, more and more angry, and more infuriated Duo. Duo, you coward! 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 Cowards who only know how to scheme against others, don't dare to fight me to the death. Who wouldn't dare? Duo finally couldn't take it anymore and shouted. At the judging panel, Teacher Ma reminded him loudly, Duo, ignore him. This place. However, in that instant Duo seemed to have been provoked and lost his rationality. He shouted, Life and death arena it is. Wu Yuntian, you've gone too far. Today I, Iron Fist young nobles Duo, will fight you to the death. His face was full of grief and indignation, and his whole body was full of grievances. He stomped his feet and shouted, What kind of quality is this? What kind of upbringing was this? You scolded your teacher in front of everyone, and you still think you're in the right? Do you have to fight to the death just because someone said you were wrong? Alright, bring it on. Who's afraid of who? Let's put aside who's stronger and who's weaker and who's stronger. I won't take this lying down even if I die. Let's fight then. Life and death arena it is. Who's afraid of who? Duo became more and more agitated. He jumped up and down on the stage, his expression more and more sorrowful. His mouth was like a cannon. What kind of world is this? Bah! That's the kind of person you are. He's just a scum of society when he grows up. He's going to fight to the death if he does something wrong. Who's afraid of you? I can't take it anymore. There's actually such a person in this world. His voice grew louder and louder. Coupled with his face full of indignation and cursing, Wu Yuntian's voice was completely drowned out by him. Wu Yuntian's heart was probably filled with the cruel pleasure of getting his revenge, so he didn't respond. Finally, I've caught you. Let's see how you're going to escape from the life and death arena. Let's see how you're going to frame me. Curse and be agitated. The louder you curse now, the worse you'll die later. On the stage, a few of the head judges stood up. It was obvious that they wanted to stop the fight. The life and death arena was never a small matter. The students who were able to make it here were the cream of the crop from their respective universities. They were all geniuses from different universities. If any of them died, it would be a loss. Moreover, the students who were able to make it this far usually had their own families behind them. If any of them died here, it would cause a huge uproar and cause endless trouble. When Wu Yuntian saw this, he was afraid that someone would stop the life and death arena. He shouted, Duo stared back at him with red eyes. Why are you calling me your father? Life and death arena. Clap your hands and swear. Do you dare? You think I'm afraid of you? Come on. Clap, clap, clap. Wait. On the stage, Teacher Ma, who was the head judge, flew up and shouted to stop them. Unfortunately, it was too late. Xiaoduo's and Wu Yuntian's palms had already collided. There were 3 consecutive sounds. Under the watchful eyes of the crowd, clapping their hands and swearing an oath, the life and death arena could not be changed. These 2 students were not just students. They were also the team leaders of their respective universities. They represented the reputation of their respective universities. Now, if anyone took a step back, the entire university would not be able to raise their heads. They would be scolded for being cowardly for many years. The tragedy that was destined to happen could not be undone. In the life and death arena, one must die. Moreover, these 2 were the team leaders. After drawing lots, it was no longer a matter of 2 people but 2 teams. The life and death arena of 2 teams. Sigh. Teacher Ma's long face was filled with anxiety. He pointed at Xiaoduo and was exasperated. You, can't you tolerate this temper of yours? Xiaoduo said respectfully, don't worry, Teacher Ma. This is just my temper. I can't tolerate any sand in my eyes. If there's anything I don't like, I'll say it. This temper of mine has caused a lot of trouble. It's okay, I'm used to it. Teacher Ma sighed. This is the life and death arena. Xiaoduo said righteously, everything is destined to be like this. It's fate. This student would like to be so bold as to say that this kind of despicable person, regardless of whether I hear or see him, I will still say what I have to say. This time, next time, it will always be the same. Good boy. Teacher Ma sighed softly. You must be careful. If you don't die and can pass this stage, you can consider joining Huayang Gaolu. Thank you, Teacher Ma. At the side, Wu Yuntian also bowed solemnly. Teacher Ma. I really didn't. Teacher Ma snorted and turned to leave. A student like you, no matter how high your aptitude is, Huayang Gaolu will never accept you. A student who doesn't respect his teachers, no matter how high his talent is, no matter how great his future achievements are, can you expect him to give back to his school? Do you dare to count on him? Moreover, he scolded me. Wina. In the stands, Li Chengqiu's face was gloomy. He muttered, Huayang Gaolu. So what if you're Huayang Gaolu? You actually said it as if it's a famous school. If I didn't know, I would think it's one of the 3 famous schools. TSK, you don't know your limits. Humph. They were far apart from each other, and it was very noisy. He thought that Teacher Ma wouldn't be able to hear him. But unfortunately, since the incident just now, Teacher Ma had been paying attention to all the students of Fenghai 13 High School and the 2 leading teachers. He spread out his divine sense to capture the movements on the other side. All of a sudden, with a long roar, Teacher Ma leaped several hundred meters into the air and slapped Teacher Li's face. Then he gave him a round of beatings. After a round of beating, Mr. Ma stood up again. He pointed at himself and scolded, You're right, my Huayang High School is not a famous school. I don't even know how long my face is. But I'll say it here today. In the future, no one from Fenghai 13 High School will be accepted by Huayang Gaolu. We can't afford it. Li Chengqiu covered his swollen and bleeding face and didn't dare to make a sound, even if the other teachers didn't understand what happened here. When they heard Teacher Ma's words and saw Li Chengqiu's face, they immediately understood. In an instant, many teachers' eyes were filled with anger. Even if you're dissatisfied with this teacher, don't involve the school. Huayang Gaolu is not a famous school? Then Fenghai 13 High School is a famous school? This teacher Li Chengqiu actually rose to the level of Huayang Gaolu because of Teacher Ma's face. He deserved to be beaten to death. Then, everyone's thoughtful eyes focused on Wu Yuntian again. With such a teacher, it was possible for this student to scold the teacher in a low voice on the stage. At this time, all the students from Fenghai 13 High School were pale. This time Fenghai 13 High School was famous. A student was caught secretly scolding the referee teacher on the stage. Not only that, the student's teacher was also caught scolding someone else's school. This was simply an unlucky day. At this moment, all the teachers from the various high martial arts schools were looking at them with undisguised disgust. Xiaoduo! Wu Yuntian shouted furiously. sign the life and death agreement. He took it for granted that Swishaoduo was to blame for all the mistakes and all the consequences. If this bastard didn't frame him, how could things have come to this point? Well, although he thought so, it wasn't wrong. Because it was the truth. Swishaoduo rolled his eyes and said, "Why are you in such a hurry? Our competition will only start in the afternoon." It's not a competition, it's a life and death battle. On the opposite side, 6 people, including Wu Yuntian, roared together. Their aura was actually very strong. The way they looked at Swishaoduo was full of undisguised murderous intent. On the other side of the stage, Long Yusheng, Wan Lixiu and the others were all in admiration. Even Yu Moyan, who had been thinking about it, knew clearly that if he was on the stage, he would never be able to cause such a big storm. Only someone like Swishaoduo, who was sinister and cunning, would be able to seize the slightest opportunity and use a combination of punches to make the entire school unable to make a comeback. They had to admit defeat. Sinister, too sinister. A true sinister old fox. I'm convinced, I'm really convinced and full of admiration. Long Yusheng and the others were in admiration. Swi's maneuver was godly. Chapter 327. Swishaoduo was also surprised by the current situation. He was just used to taking advantage of every loophole in the enemy and creating traps out of habit. In fact, his original intention was very simple and pure. After the winner and loser of the life and death arena was clear, he could still stand on the high ground of righteousness. That way, he would have a legitimate reason to kill Wu Yuntian. This was very important. Someone would definitely die this time, but this was not the key point. The key point was that there would definitely be revenge after the death, whether it was from Fenghai High School number 13 or the family of the deceased. It was for this reason that Swishaoduo was eager to lock down the dead person in this battle. Perhaps Wan Lixiu was not afraid of revenge, but Long Yusheng and the others might not be able to withstand it. If they all came for him, he might not be afraid of them. Long Yusheng and the others were too honest after all. But in this way, the moral high ground became extremely important, especially crucial. The first step was to tarnish Wu Yuntian's reputation. There were so many teachers around and the evidence was vague, but that was enough. The second step was to continue the same before the final battle and make the situation worse. The third step was to kill the person involved. The fourth step, to wait for the other party to come for revenge, and then, "I am the witness of the whole world. What right do you have to take revenge on me?" Everyone had seen what had happened back then. The fifth step after that, "Your family is so unreasonable. I will call on all the witnesses to destroy you." This was not completely impossible. At the very least, some people would intervene because of this. That would be a free help. As long as today was done well, all of this was possible. Masters was acting was like an award-winning actor, and the situation was carried out perfectly according to his script. But what he did not expect was that the leader of the other party, Teacher Li Chengqiu, would be so cooperative when he just wanted to settle the life and death arena. The words that were whispered at the bottom were simply too awesome. And the most awesome thing was, he was caught red-handed by the person involved, Teacher Horseface. It was even more wonderful. Too cooperative. I didn't even want to ruin your school directly, but now you are pushing your own school into the toilet. I believe that this way, all the teachers in the entire competition venue will be on my side. This will lay down a solid foundation for me to deal with you all in the future. The above is an excerpt from the Swishaoduo Life and Death Arena Event Standard Format Work Report. Swishaoduo had already learned one thing. Always occupy the moral high ground. Furthermore, he had to stand on it and he had to continue standing there. No matter who it is, I will stand on it. With this as the foundation, he would be able to defeat any enemy with ease. Swishaoduo's usual routine was, "You think I've thought of the first step, but I've already thought of the 9th step. In fact, I've already thought of the endpoint, your endpoint." This was the essence of Masters' was life philosophy. The drawing of lots ended. In the afternoon, Phoenix City's 2nd high school fought against Fenghai City's 13th high school. This news swept through the entire city like a hurricane. So much so that the spectator seats in the first competition area were completely filled before lunchtime. Yes, it was filled. It wasn't as simple as just filling up the seats. Although there were no crawlers or hangers, there were many people standing and squatting. The entire seating area was filled to the brim. Even further ahead, Countless live streamers had set up their cameras. Thousands of mobile phones were already on standby, ready for battle. Our countrymen were like this. No, not even once. The same advice also appeared among the few people in Fenghai City's 13th high school. Li Chengqiu and the other teacher in charge of the team guided them patiently, giving instructions to the entire team. Your ability to hide your cultivation is your greatest weapon. There is no point in hiding it now. When you fight, don't hold back. But be careful, once you attack, it must be a fatal blow. Don't give the opponent a chance to recover. Yes, teacher. When we fight in the afternoon, the opponent will most likely send Zuo Duo, the Iron Fist Young Master. Since Zuo Duo is known as the Iron Fist Young Master, he must be very accomplished in his fists. Don't fight with him rashly before you know his strength. According to Luo Lai, Zuo ability is at least above Long Yusheng, Yu Moyan, and the rest who have already fought. This is especially true in terms of fist techniques. Be careful. Understood. With your cultivation bases, I'm not worried at all. Gao Yin and Gao Pinger, the two of you. Teacher, we must fight. Gao Yinner's beautiful eyes were spitting fire. Zuo Duo has humiliated me. I will never let him go. I must kill him with my own hands. Li Chengqiu's face showed hesitation. I am afraid you are not Zuo Duo's opponent. Gao Yinner gritted her teeth and said, that Zuo Duo only has innate realm cultivation, while we sisters have already broken through to the embryonic breathing realm. If we still can't win, what's the point of living? If we can't wash away such humiliation with our own hands, what's the point of living on? Li Chengqiu and the other teacher leading the team were silent for a while. Both of their hearts were filled with disapproval. You call this a great humiliation? If you didn't provoke the other teacher, would he scold you? It's more like you brought it upon yourself. The so-called karma is nothing more than this. However, they definitely couldn't say that about their own students in front of them. You can discuss and decide on the specifics of the battle formation, the other teacher leading the team said. There is one thing that is especially important. In the life and death ring, if you can kill your opponent, you naturally have to kill without leaving any leeway. However, if you realize that you have lost your chance of winning and your life is in danger at any time, you must not be afraid of losing face and jump out of the ring immediately. If you lose your face, you still have a chance to win it back. Once you lose your life, you will really lose everything. The two teachers retreated, leaving the 6 people to discuss tactics. Teacher Li, even if you can go back this time, I'm afraid that you will be in big trouble. Just like Zuo Duo, although they kept reminding, the teachers of Fenghai City Martial Arts School were very confident in their own students' strength. They felt that they would never lose. They even felt that this time, Fenghai City Martial Arts School was more prepared and stronger than every year. They were going straight for the championship. This time, Li Chengqiu sighed instinctively after comforting his students. It was a matter that only he understood for the time being, and he had to face it. This time he was in big trouble. Today's accident made almost all the teachers of high martial arts schools have a bad impression of himself and the students of Fenghai City. This influence was extremely bad. Not only did it affect the perception of Wu Yuntian and the others, but it also affected the promotion of the other students of the school. Let's wait until we win in the afternoon and talk about the follow-up. Li Chengqiu frowned. I didn't expect that the student of Phoenix City No. 2 Middle School to be so insidious. However, as long as our school can win the championship, or even the top 3, we can still recover a considerable amount of influence. But if nothing will happen. As long as we can kill as many students of Phoenix City No. 2 Middle School as possible, the momentum will naturally come back to our side. Another teacher comforted. I hope so. Li Chengqiu regretted just thinking about it. Why did he have to provoke Hu Ruoyun? The series of events that had occurred were truly unexpected. 1:30 in the afternoon. The competition had not yet started, but the spectator stands were already crowded. Even the aisles were full of people. There were really a lot of people waiting for a ticket. The first few rows of the spectator stands were basically all high martial arts teachers. Some of them simply stood in front of the ring with their hands behind their backs, just watching. Teacher Luo Yanling was in a tight suit, standing in the front position, always on guard. Her purpose was to be ready to rescue at any time. As for breaking the rules, I'm just saving the students. Besides, even if I break the rules, who dares to come up? Whoever comes up, I'll shout that I want to catch a hooligan. Teacher Luo had already made up her mind. Of course, this preferential treatment she only intended to give to Yu Moyan. Even if the other geniuses performed better, she would not be tempted. She only had eyes for Yu Moyan. She had taken a fancy to this seemingly honest and quiet child. Chapter 328. 2:00 in the afternoon. With the sound of the bells, Zhou Xiaoduo and Wu Yuntian stood on the left and right of the ring respectively. Above them, the high school teachers had already prepared the life and death agreement. Horse-faced teacher Ma stepped forward and read out the various matters expressionlessly. Once the life and death agreement is signed, there will be no regrets. Now you still have the chance to go back on your word. No one is allowed to interfere. Wu Yuntian looked at Zhou Xiaoduo. Zhou Xiaoduo, you coward. Are you going back on your word? Zhou Xiaoduo did not even look at him. He said firmly, as a man, what joy is there in life? What fear is there in death? After saying that, he took a step forward and took the lead to pick up a pen and sign his name. Wu Yuntian laughed. Straightforward. You're a real man. He signed his name too. Teacher Ma sighed and looked at Zhou Xiaoduo. Take care. Thank you, teacher. Teacher Ma held the life and death agreement in his hand and walked around the ring. He read it out loud again for everyone to bear witness. At this point, the competition officially began. Zhou Xiaoduo did not go down from the ring. He just stood there while Wu Yuntian went back to arrange the deployment. The life and death agreement was signed by the two captains. It was equivalent to the two teams. There was no room for carelessness in the tactical arrangements. Especially when the strength of the opposing team was not to be underestimated, there was no room for carelessness. But now Wu Yuntian felt that the other side had added at least 30% or more. Zhou Xiaoduo, the candidate for the battle, was left on the ring. At the very least, he was a participant in the first battle. He was no different from a live target. At this moment, all they needed to do was to figure out how to deal with Zhou Xiaoduo. It was too advantageous. Zhou Xiaoduo stood on the stage, looking like a handsome young man. He was tall, had a fair complexion, sharp eyebrows, and bright eyes. His black hair fluttered in the wind. Every aspect of him was proof that he was a handsome young master in this chaotic world. Coupled with his righteous aura and honest face, he looked like the honest and reliable type. Just looking at him made many female audience members fall in love with him. This child is really not bad. This figure is really strong. One look and I can tell that he has a good personality. Very honest, very honest. Yeah. I hope he doesn't lose. On the stage, Zhou Xiaoduo maintained his honest and sincere demeanor. He took a few steps forward and suddenly revealed a somewhat bashful smile. Seemingly a little embarrassed, he scratched his head and said, My name is Zhou Xiaoduo. Cough cough. I'm a student of Phoenix City's second high school. I've been practicing martial arts since I was young. Everyone gave me a nickname, Iron Fist Young Master. Actually, my family is very poor. I don't deserve the name Young Master. Everyone was speechless. You're focusing on the wrong thing, kid. You should be worried that your nickname of Iron Fist Young Master has exposed too much. How could it be related to the question of whether or not she was worthy of Gongzi? This is my first time fighting in the life and death arena. And I've never fought with such rules before. Zhou Xiaoduo's face was simple and honest. He scratched his head and said, That's why I have a few questions to ask the judges. He turned around and bowed seriously. I hope the judges can answer my questions while you're busy. The judges all like this honest, courteous, and honest kid very much. Compared to a certain person's bad performance, he was much better. They spoke almost at the same time. What questions do you have? Just say it. We'll answer it for you. Zhou Xiaoduo said, What I'm worried about is actually after I win. Because if I lose, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. Everyone smiled at the same time, but they felt their hearts clench. What a good child, so honest. What I want to ask is, if I kill the other party, will the family behind them take revenge on me? I heard that the contestants who can represent a school are either very strong themselves or have a family behind them that is very powerful. Zhou Xiaoduo looked worried. My family is just an ordinary family. What I'm most worried about is bringing disaster to my family. Now everyone had a better impression of this kid. Teacher Ma looked kind and said, I'll answer your question for you. In the life and death arena, as long as the life and death agreement is signed, it's a personal grudge between the signatories. There are no regrets in life and no regrets in death. If you die, you die. If you die, you die without regrets. Since there are no regrets, you won't be allowed to take revenge. Swishaoduo said worriedly, people are born biased. Even if the rules don't allow it, the relatives of the deceased may not be willing to give up on revenge. If something happens after that, what should we do? Teacher Ma said solemnly, as long as you're still breathing, spread this news. All of the teachers here will testify for you and support you. We're not supporting you, we're supporting the rules. No one is allowed to trample on the rules. There was once someone who died in the life and death arena, and the family took revenge. Later, this family was completely wiped out by the joint forces of various parties. There's a precedent for this. Everyone knows that if anyone deliberately violates this taboo, they're seeking death. There's a reason for this. Many teachers nodded. Indeed, this was the truth. The life and death arena is a matter of honor for a martial artist. Life and death are things that a martial artist has to face at all times. Since you've signed the contract, you have to abide by it. The whole continent is bearing witness to it. Swishaoduo said, I don't doubt Teacher Ma's words, but I'm just an ordinary student. I'm still worried. Consider it as me being petty. Can you give me the contact details of all the teachers? If something happens to me in the future, I can get someone to spread the news. This way, the people who break the contract will not be able to get away scot-free and ignore the rules. Okay, no problem. The teachers agreed and left their phone numbers one after another. Swishaoduo recorded it seriously and bowed. Thank you, teachers, thank you, teachers. Really, my heart is filled with warmth. In this world, there are still many good people. All the teachers are righteous and have students all over the world. You're really my role model. Phoenix City's second high school. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai lowered their heads and massaged their temples. To outsiders, they seemed to be sad, but in reality, they were trying their best to endure that this kid was really good at acting. As for Long Yuxing and the others, their faces were immediately filled with heartfelt admiration and admiration. They were even gasping in amazement. It was a marvelous sight. Zhuo's acting was really too strong. They believed that just this act alone was enough to make the opponent's mind unstable and furious. It was expected that their battle strength would be greatly reduced. Moreover, he had accumulated a strong network of contacts for himself. These contacts were all connections, and they were all very high-level ones at that. They were all teachers from various high martial arts schools. Which one of them had a lower cultivation level than Hua Yun? Zhuo was really making a fortune. This was all knowledge. He had to learn it. It was really awesome. Long Yuxing and the rest thoughts were not wrong at all. On the opposite side, the first contestant, Gao Yener, who was dressed in white, had already stood up. However, Swishaoduo's side seemed to be holding a press conference. They kept exchanging contact details and did not have any intention of responding to Gao Yener. However, the other side's communicators were all judges and high martial arts teachers. Gao Yener did not dare to interrupt at all. She could only stand and watch from the side. She looked at Swishaoduo bowing continuously. He was honest and sincere, and his mouth was as sweet as honey. All kinds of pretentious actions made her hate him so much that her heart was about to split open. She was fuming with anger. Even her heart was beating faster and her temples were throbbing. You're so fucking polite. Why are you participating in this competition? Why are you learning martial arts? This bastard. After a long time, Swishaoduo was finally done with his work. He bowed respectfully and made a circle with his hands clasped in front of his chest. Thank you, teachers. Swishaoduo would like to invite all the teachers here to be witnesses. In this life and death arena, if our Phoenix City's second high school loses and dies in battle, we will still have no complaints. No one is allowed to take revenge for us. Otherwise, we will bear the name of martial artists in the underworld. No regrets in victory or defeat. No complaints in life or death. Swishaoduo said passionately, this is the declaration of I, the Iron Fist young master, Swishaoduo in the life and death battle. There was a round of applause. It was very warm. Opposite him, Gao Yiner's face was red with anger. She said, Swishaoduo, you pervert, are you done? Hearing this, many people's faces turned ugly. Pervert. How did he pervert you? He hasn't even spoken to you, okay? Swishaoduo turned his head and said apologetically, Please wait for a moment, miss. I only have one sentence to say. Why are you so talkative? Gao Yiner was impatient. If you have something to say it quickly. Swishaoduo smiled faintly and said loudly, I only have one last sentence to say. If there's any misfortune, please transfer all my assets and resources to my family. Also, I hope that I can be buried in peace. Thank you for coming to bear witness. Swishaoduo faced east and bowed deeply. Then he faced north and bowed deeply. Then he faced west and bowed deeply. Then he faced south and bowed deeply. His expression was sorrowful, his face was solemn, his face was honest, and his body was full of righteousness. Awe-inspiring. Many people stood up from the audience and bowed back. Some people even shouted, Iron Fist, young master, you won't lose. We have faith in you. Thank you. Swishaoduo bowed again. On the other side, Gao Yiner was so angry that she wanted to tear Swishaoduo apart. Are you here to worship the heavens and earth? Is that right? Is that right? Swishaoduo finally turned around with a solemn face. Miss, are you ready? Do you have anything to say? This is a matter of life and death. Gao Yiner almost couldn't catch her breath. She said angrily, When are you going to stop talking? Swishaoduo sighed and said, Miss, this is a matter of life and death in the life and death arena. Don't blame me for being ruthless and not knowing how to be gentle with you. After all, it's either you die or I die. As he spoke, he stood up straight and solemnly performed a meticulous martial arts etiquette. He said, Miss, please. Then he slowly moved his right leg back and slowly squatted down. He clenched his fists, one in front and one behind, and got into a fighting posture. He shouted again, Please. He was elegant, well-mannered, handsome, confident, and elegant. Many people's eyes lit up and said secretly, Good. It was really a stranger like Jade. The young master is unparalleled. Looking for monthly votes. Looking for recommendation votes. Looking for subscriptions. 6th watch, wahahaha. Chapter 329. Swishaoduo's appearance was greeted by cheers from the audience. Swishaoduo, the Iron Fist young master. We don't know how strong the Iron Fist is, but the title of young master is unparalleled in the world. Good style. A high martial arts teacher blurted out a compliment, but the opponent couldn't do it. Gao Yiner didn't expect Swishaoduo to perform a martial arts salute at the beginning of the battle. She didn't know how to react for a moment. At this time, Swishaoduo was already in a fighting posture. He knew that the opponent would attack at any time, so he didn't bother to return the salute and pulled out his long sword with a clang. Many teachers secretly shook their heads. This was a martial arts salute before a battle of life and death, but he didn't even return the salute. How did the teacher teach him? This was the most basic integrity of a martial artist, okay? They couldn't help but feel that all the students in Fenghai City's number 13 high school were like this. With a flash of sword light, Gao Yiner's whole body was like a swallow on the water. Her body was light and graceful, and her sword light was restrained. Her whole body seemed to have turned into a stream of light, aiming directly at Swishaoduo. When she arrived in front of Swishaoduo, the sword light suddenly lit up. Swishaoduo, hand over your life. A loud shout. Swishaoduo lowered his waist and sat in a horse stance. His eyes were focused, and he suddenly punched toward the incoming sword light. Good. A high martial arts teacher couldn't help but cheer. This punch was really just right. At first he didn't move to deal with the changes by staying still. Now he only punched once, but it was the critical moment when the opponent's sword momentum was exhausted and couldn't change the move anymore. What a good Iron Fist young master. He really lived up to his reputation. Just by looking at this punch, the title of Iron Fist young master was well deserved. Bang! His fist collided with the tip of the opponent's sword without any tricks. The sharp and shining tip of the sword didn't pierce through at all, and it was bounced off by the punch. Gao Yiner's body rolled and retreated 7 or 8 meters. On the other hand, Swishaoduo stood up and walked towards Gao Yiner with nimble steps that were neither fast nor slow. You cheated! Gao Yiner screamed. You have gloves on your hands. Swishaoduo said helplessly, Student, I'm known as the Iron Fist young master. Isn't it normal for me to have gloves on my hands? Is this cheating? The onlookers also laughed disdainfully. There was nothing wrong with what he said. You're holding a sword, so is it fair for the other party to fight you barehanded? How could he openly accuse them of cheating? What kind of logic was this? Or was this the logic of Fenghai City's number 13 middle school? However, everyone could see that Gao Yener's agility was far above that of Swishaoduo. What was more important was that Gao Yener's cultivation had exploded to its limit and revealed her true strength. Embryonic breathing realm. Once he collided with Swishaoduo, he could not withstand his opponent's strength. He immediately used his body movement skill to dodge the attack, then slowed down a little before attacking again. He seemed to be at ease. The situation was at a stalemate. At the very least, it would be difficult to determine the outcome of the battle in a short period of time. However, many of the teachers felt that it was a pity. This Swishaoduo was really a rare genius. Using his bare fists to fight against a sharp sword, using his innate cultivation to fight against an embryonic breathing realm practitioner, he was actually not at a disadvantage at all. He even had the upper hand every time. If it were not for the fact that Gao Yener's body movement skill and cultivation were excellent, she would have been defeated for a long time. It could be said that this child, Swishaoduo, was a battle genius. At this moment, Gao Yener let out a long whistle and suddenly unleashed her sword power. The sword wind made a hissing sound as it cut through the air. Streaks of sword chi appeared in an unprecedentedly swift and fierce manner. They rushed towards Swishaoduo from all directions, forming a four-sided encirclement with the intention of killing him. She thought that she had already figured out Swishaoduo's ins and outs. She was determined to counterattack and attack with all her might. Every move, every style, and every sword was aimed at a vital point. Swishaoduo's fists fell like rain. He tried his best to block every sword attack, but it was a pity that he missed a lot. As he let out a loud cry, his shoulder was slashed by the incoming sword chi. Following that, his thigh was also slashed and fresh blood dripped out. The crowd exclaimed in surprise. However, at this moment Swishaoduo seemed to have lost his temper. With an angry roar, he suddenly changed his pace. There was a faint twinkle of starlight. Then his whole body actually broke through the sword net and rushed forward. At this moment Gao Yener's sword was aimed at Swishaoduo's throat, which was a vital point. The distance between the two of them was so close that it was difficult to dodge. Many people held their breaths and stared at the battle. There were even more people who had predicted the outcome of the battle and simply closed their eyes, unable to bear to watch. Swishaoduo was in danger. Gao Yener's sword was aimed at Swishaoduo's throat. Although Swishaoduo courageously broke through the sword net and had room to attack, he was inferior to his opponent in terms of attack distance, attack strength, and landing position. How could he turn the tables? However, at this moment, Swishaoduo suddenly stopped and made an extremely bold and strange move. He tilted his head abruptly and then violently to one side. With this change, not only did he avoid the sword that was aimed at his throat, but he also used his shoulder and head to clamp the attacking sword. At the same time, his right fist roared like thunder and smashed heavily on Gao Yener's delicate head. Bang! Blood splattered everywhere, and brain matter burst out. Swishaoduo quickly stepped back. A sword fell from his neck to the ground with a clang. Opposite him, Gao Yener's beautiful head was directly smashed into pieces. Only her delicate headless body was left, powerlessly falling to the ground. This shocking turn of events was truly shocking and unimaginable. Gao Yener, who had the absolute advantage since the beginning of the battle, was actually smashed into pieces by a punch. No one would have thought that Swishaoduo would be able to win in such a manner. The degree of danger was truly at its peak. That was a sword that clamped the opponent's strong sword aura with his neck. If there was even the slightest mistake, Swishaoduo would definitely be the one to die. There was no chance that he would be beheaded by a sword. However, it was meaningless to talk about this now. Swishaoduo had won and Gao Yener was dead. Swishaoduo was bleeding from many places on his body. His neck was badly mutilated. It was obvious that the sword was not completely unscathed. At this moment, his eyes were full of astonishment. He stepped forward and said in a sorrowful voice, "I'm sorry I couldn't stop." Everyone saw it clearly. At that moment, if Zhuoxiaoduo could not defeat Gao Yan'er, then Zhuoxiaoduo's head would have fallen off. How could he stop in such a situation? This was something that everyone could understand. Zhuoxiaoduo, you murderer! With a cry, Gao Ping'er rushed out with a sword light and stabbed at Zhuoxiaoduo, who was retreating. This sudden attack came without any warning, rushing out just like that. This was no different from a sneak attack. It was even more despicable. Isn't this a sneak attack? Teacher Ma's face was full of dissatisfaction. Taking advantage of the emotional aftermath of the murder of your family member? What kind of people does Fenghai High School cultivate? Teacher Ma did not have a good impression of Fenghai High School at all. Even if there was nothing wrong with it, in his eyes there was no redeeming quality. There were exclamations from the audience. On the stage, Zhuoxiaoduo, who was retreating, seemed to be completely surprised. He was completely caught off guard and shouted, "You're sneak attacking?" He used the star steps again. Starlight flashed again and again. Then his whole body rose into the air. He punched the tip of the sword. Then his feet strangely staggered. With a roar, he kicked out 17 or 18 times in a row. And in this series of counterattacks, none of his kicks missed. Gao Ping'er, who rushed out angrily, was kicked in the temple by Zhuoxiaoduo. The second kick landed on the lower abdomen, the third on the chest. Then the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, until the 18th kick landed on the head with a bang. Another beautiful head also exploded. As for Zhuoxiaoduo, he had probably unleashed all of his strength in a hurry. It was easy to unleash but difficult to retract. Only after he had kicked all of them did he fall from the sky. He fell to the ground and was battered and exhausted. He didn't even have the strength to hold onto a pole to stabilize himself. It could be seen that the scene just now was very thrilling. It was so fast. Zhuoxiaoduo, who had landed on the ground, roared again. "Shameless! How dare you sneak attack on the life and death arena?" Then he got into a fighting posture and tried to turn around. As if he did not know that his opponent had been kicked to death, that after he turned his head, he was suddenly stunned. He scratched his head in confusion and murmured, "How did he die?" It could be seen that his outburst just now was an unintentional act that he did not realize. Everyone was speechless. Apart from a few people who were close to Zhua, who saw the scene clearly, the rest of the people didn't see it clearly. With a flash of sword light, the beauty in white who tried to sneak attack died. All of this happened too abruptly, too quickly. It's an instinctive reaction. Teacher Ma took a deep breath. This is an extreme outburst of instinct. But this kid actually learned the Dragon Gate kick and Starry Sky steps of Kunlun Taoism, and he learned it well. He almost integrated it into his instincts. This is a level that can only be achieved when one is extremely familiar with it. The whole place was silent. In the blink of an eye, two beautiful girls who had a good figure and temperament died just like that. And they died so miserably. The first one fought for a long time and used all her strengths. She forced the opponent to use up all the strength of 9 oxen, 2 tigers and a camel before she died. But what about the second one? Did he deliberately come out to die? Did he want to die? The opponent was completely unprepared. You jumped out to launch a sneak attack and got killed instantly. This does not seem to make sense. On the opposite side, Phoenix City No. 2 High School, Yu Moyan, Li Chenglong and the rest were all cursing angrily. Their faces were full of grievances. You guys actually launched a sneak attack. Please guarantee the monthly votes. Recommendation votes. I'm leaving for the gathering soon. Chapter 330. Shameless Sneak Attack. Even in a normal arena, there is no sneak attack like this. Yes, this is the life and death arena. They actually use sneak attacks. Is this how the teachers of Fenghai 13 teach their students? Luckily our boss reacted quickly, otherwise the consequences would be unimaginable. If they were killed by a sneak attack, would they just say that they were angry and impulsive, and everything would be fine? Too despicable, too shameless. I'm so angry, so angry. The 5 people's faces were filled with anger, their blood boiling, as if they had suffered a great grievance. Moreover, the whole audience echoed at the same time. Yes, this is clearly a shameless sneak attack. It's really too shameless. Whether they died or not is another matter, but this is a sneak attack for sure. Unexpectedly, Not many people noticed that the Phoenix City's second high school, who looked so wronged, had already won 2 matches in a row without suffering any injuries. And the Fenghai 13 high school that was being condemned had already paid with 2 fresh lives. Hu Ruoyun looked helplessly at Li Chenglong and the others who were possessed by drama queens. These guys' anger and dissatisfaction couldn't be said to be fake, but the truth was that they couldn't go on stage, not because of the sneak attack. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai looked at each other, both feeling very tired. They really didn't know what to say about the team that they had brought up. One drama queen was performing on stage, acting with all her heart, while the other 5 were tearfully cooperating with her. Their acting was superb, simply at a textbook level. Both of them had a strange idea. Why don't we go back and suggest that the Phoenix City's second high school be changed into a film and television school? They don't even need to study. Each one of them is a proper movie king before they even graduate. On the opposite side, Wu Yuntian looked at the 2 corpses on stage, his eyes lifeless. He was very interested in this pair of sisters, and had been painstakingly pursuing them for a year, and finally made some progress, but now his head was gone. That's Xiaoduo walked step by step back to his original position. Everyone could see that this kid's mental state was a bit unstable. He was still in shock, and his face was as pale as paper. His 2 legs even seemed to be trembling. It was obvious that the sneak attack just now had really frightened him. At the judges' table, Teacher Ma's face was kind. Xiaoduo, you can ask for a break and substitute someone to go on stage. This was said with good intentions, even kindness. Xiaoduo had already fought 2 matches in a row, and both matches were filled with danger. Even if he still had the strength to fight, the mental exhaustion would not be small. Furthermore, the other members of second high school had not even made a move yet. At this moment it was reasonable for them to switch out, and no one could object. But how could Wu Yuntian allow Xiaoduo to rest? This kid was still in shock. His strength. This was the best time to take his life. He drew his sword. Xiaoduo, the famous Iron Fist young master of Phoenix City, is he going to run away like a turtle? Ma! But when he heard Wu Yuntian's words as if he was provoked, he immediately stood up straight and shouted angrily, "You're the turtle!" A few of the judges said together, "This is a life and death battle. Once the battle is over, whether you want to continue or not is up to you. Don't be provoked." Wu Yuntian shouted, "You don't dare to fight with me? You don't dare. Xiaoduo, if you don't dare to fight, then you're a coward. I'm a hero. Then come, let's fight. Let's fight." Xiaoduo was furious. "You think I'm scared of you?" The judges sighed softly. This kid was good in every way. Why was he so easily provoked? He had already fought 2 matches, and his ultimate moves and fighting style had already been figured out by his opponent. If he continued fighting, it would be very dangerous. Wu Yuntian slowly drew his sword. The sword in the scabbard was already rubbing against the scabbard. Even though it was not out of the scabbard, it was already emitting a sound similar to that of a dragon's roar and a tiger's roar. It was breathtaking. With such momentum, anyone could imagine that when this sword was drawn, it would definitely be earth-shattering. "Xiaoduo, you killed 2 of my classmates. You have to pay with your life." Wu Yuntian stared into Xiaoduo's eyes. Every word was like a malicious spirit demanding his life. Xiaoduo was stunned when he heard this, and then he was furious. "What nonsense are you spouting? Let's not talk about the life and death battle. It's either life or death. If you didn't force me to sign the life and death battle, how would I have fought with them and how would they have died? In the life and death battle, if they didn't die, then I would die. Is it wrong for me to kill them? Wu Yuntian, if we trace the cause of their deaths, it's definitely not me, it's you. It's you who killed 2 of your classmates because of your selfish desires." Xiaoduo roared. You're the murderer." Xiaoduo's words seemed to be sophistry, as if he was twisting words and forcing logic, but for some reason the more they heard, the more they felt that it made sense. It seemed like there was nothing wrong with it at all, because Xiaoduo had never asked for the life and death battle. Everything was because Wu Yuntian was relentless, using all kinds of words to provoke him, using all kinds of methods to force him to sign the life and death battle contract. Now that your own people have died, you're actually blaming him for killing your people? Do you think I can only let you kill them? There's no such logic in this world, right? The murderer, tracing back to the source, was indeed this Wu Yuntian. Wu Yuntian's face was gloomy, and the murderous intent in his eyes grew stronger. Zhou Xiaoduo, give me your life. Zhou Xiaoduo looked up to the sky and laughed. I, the Iron Fist Prince Zhou Xiaoduo, am not afraid of you. Bring it on, let's see who will win. Clang! An intense sword hum rang out, and a blinding white light flashed, causing everyone to be blinded in an instant. Wu Yuntian unsheathed his long sword. The moment he unsheathed his sword, he had already performed the move of becoming one with his sword. Together with his sword, the sword light shot up to the sky like a rocket, bringing along a long tail of flame as it shot towards Zhou Xiaoduo. Wu Yuntian obviously hated Zhou Xiaoduo to the core. He didn't want to be entangled with this brat anymore, and only wanted to tear Zhou Xiaoduo into pieces with one strike of his sword. Zhou Xiaoduo shouted, "Come on." Following his shout, the starlight under his feet lit up again. With a wave of his hands, two almost invisible lights flashed and disappeared. Following that, Zhou Xiaoduo performed the star steps with all his strength. His eyes were filled with brilliant starlight, and his footsteps were unpredictable, rushing towards Wu Yuntian's sword. The white light flashed and disappeared in the sword light. Wu Yuntian, who had been charging forward with an imposing aura, did not know why, but his sword light suddenly became chaotic. Following that, he let out a heart-wrenching, extremely painful scream. Despicable. My eyes. His footwork was also suddenly messed up, and Zhou Xiaoduo had already rushed forward like a meteor chasing after the moon. His body was overflowing with boundless starlight, gorgeous and magnificent. Under the watchful eyes of the audience, the elegant young master, a peerlessly beautiful young man, stepped on the starlight elegantly and at ease, with sword-like eyebrows and starry eyes, like a swimming dragon. He was really handsome. As the endless starlight surged, the Dragon Gate kick appeared, brazenly attacking. Boom! The kick was aimed at Wu Yuntian's crotch. After the successful attack, he didn't hesitate and kicked again, and again like a continuous stream of 36 kicks, all aimed at the same spot like a meteor falling one after another. It was all in the crotch. Somewhere on the spectator stand, someone snorted in an extremely angry voice, "Bastard! What? This match is being watched by the whole nation." Boom, 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 Zhou Xiaoduo shouted loudly, his whole body spinning in the air. And as he rose, Wu Yuntian's body was also kicked up into the air one after another. Once the Dragon Gate kick was used, the speed was almost as if there was no need to change space. It was really too fast, as if there was no way to stop. 36 kicks landed on the crotch of Wu Yuntian's pants. His entire body was kicked 40 meters into the air. After the last kick, Wu Yuntian's entire body exploded in midair, turning into minced meat that scattered in all directions. And after the last kick, Zhou Xiaoduo seemed to be in a state where he couldn't control himself. His two legs were like a whirlwind, kicking out 17 or 18 times in the air, before finally stopping. Countless pieces of minced meat could be seen everywhere on the spectator stands. There were bodies everywhere. Wu Yuntian's crotch was directly smashed by Zhou Xiaoduo's Dragon Gate kick. Retch, retch. Instantly the sound of vomiting was heard. It was really too disgusting. Many people were nervously watching the battle on the stage with their mouths agape, not daring to breathe. Who would have thought that pieces of minced meat would fly into their mouths? This was not the ordinary kind of disgust. It was as if disaster had fallen from the sky while they were in the stands. It was extremely unlucky. At this moment, other than the sound of vomiting, the whole place was silent. There was no other sound. Even many of the high martial arts teachers who were watching the battle did not see clearly what had happened. Why did Wu Yuntian rush out with such a strong momentum? But in the blink of an eye, he was kicked in the crotch all the way to his death until his body was smashed to pieces. This. Fenghai City's number 13 high school teacher, Li Chengqiu, jumped up in the stands, disregarding his manners, and shouted, "Despicable! Shameless! Zhou Xiaoduo, you actually used a hidden weapon to ambush him. Zhou Xiaoduo, you deserve to die. You deserve to die." On the other side, Luolai laughed loudly. Funny, really funny. In the life and death arena, life and death are decided in an instant. I would like to ask, is there a rule that forbids the use of any means? Li Chengqiu, if you can't afford to lose, don't make such a big fuss. Saying all those useless things will only make people laugh at you. Fenghai City's number 13 high school, is this all you have? As for the judges, their faces were filled with shock, including the horse-faced teacher Ma. They all saw Zhuo Duo use a hidden weapon, but they did not see what kind of weapon he used. However, their experience and knowledge told them that at least one thing was certain. This Iron Fist young master did not use Iron Fist in this battle at all. At the moment of life and death, this Iron Fist young master actually used another martial art. I really can't go all out today. There are 15 or 16 guys in the office waiting for me to finish writing and play with them. There's no other way to gather my comrades. However, I still need to ask for a guaranteed monthly ticket and a recommendation ticket. It's okay if my brothers and sisters don't give it to me. I didn't go all out today. Chapter 331. The live stream was broadcasted. The internet was already in an uproar. Did I see wrongly just now? May I ask where the Iron Fist of this Iron Fist prince is? I didn't see the Iron Fist, I only saw the crotch kick. So skillful. This leg technique is awesome. What kind of leg is this? It's so suitable for women's self-defense. Please tell me its name. This is the Dragon Gate Kick, the unique skill of the Kunlun sect. The Dragon Gate Kick is awesome. It's really the best crotch kick. Awesome. Broken voice. I didn't expect the Kunlun sect's Dragon Gate Kick to be used like this. I didn't think much of the Dragon Gate Kick before, but now it seems that we were too narrow-minded. This leg technique is suitable for crotch kicks. The person above is a genius. The crotch kick is awesome. Shda. They were led astray by their own eyes, and the audience was singing praises of the crotch kick. Zhuo Duo wins. Teacher Ma stood up to announce the result, and then said, Zhuo Duo, come forward. Zhuo Duo tidied up the dust on his body, walked forward obediently, and said respectfully, hello, Teacher Ma. Hello, judges. This kid is so polite. Many judges praised him in their hearts. He was honest, sincere, and courteous. Most importantly, he was so handsome. Just the fact that he was pleasing to the eyes alone was enough to give him bonus points. That now everyone knew that Zhuo Duo had other means to win. Although they didn't know what it was, they shouldn't ask in public. This was obviously Zhuo Duo's life-saving trump card. Asking would be equivalent to harming him. But they couldn't help but be curious. Zhuo Duo, a female teacher said pleasantly, in these few battles, did you bring any heavy equipment? This was a question based on experience. After all, Long Yuxing and the others were all carrying a considerable amount of weight on their bodies while they were fighting. As the team leaders, Zhuo Duo might be fighting in the life and death arena, but he might have brought it. Zhuo Duo hesitated. Facing the eyes of more than a dozen teachers, he finally nodded shyly, yes, yes. These two words were like a bolt of lightning that struck the hearts of all the teachers. The life and death arena actually had a weight-bearing state. Was he courting death, or was he overconfident? This match came too quickly. My emotions are also a little out of control because of the excitement. Zhuo Duo was an honest man. He stammered, I forgot that I have heavy equipment on me, so I can't perform accurately. Did he forget that he was carrying weights? Causing me to misperform time and time again. This place made everyone feel dizzy again. However, after thinking about it for a while, it seemed to make sense. After all, Zhuo Duo had lost control of his body after winning 2 matches. It was obvious that it was the result of poor control. Can I ask how heavy you are? The female teacher's eyes were already burning with passion. With innate cultivation, he had defeated 3 embryonic breathing realm practitioners in 3 consecutive battles. Furthermore, he was carrying weights. If he wasn't a freak, then what was he? Zhuo Duo touched his head and said embarrassedly, I'm slightly heavier than my classmates, about 10,000 jin. 10,000 jin. Before today, Zhuo Duo felt that it would be too shocking if he had to carry 60,000 jin of weights on his body. Hence, he changed it to a pair of 5,000 jin of weights on his arms. The few teachers' eyes bulged at the same time. What the fuck? Can I see? Teacher Ma rubbed his hands. Yes, most of my weights come from a pair of arm guards. Rather than calling it a weight, it's better to call it a weapon. Zhuo Duo rolled up his trousers and unbuttoned his shirt to reveal his arms. Frowning, he calculated and said, "The arm guards on both arms are 5,000 jin each, so it's 10,000 jin in total. There are some other weights on my body and legs. At most it's a few thousand jin. Altogether, it's not even 15,000 jin." All the teachers sucked in a breath of cold air once again. Carrying 15,000 jin of weights, he could still jump freely and move normally. He could jump in the air as if he was walking on flat ground. He could step into the starlight with the star steps and kick open the dragon gate. This kid was just an innate expert, but he was already an innate fighting embryo breath and won instantly. Such aptitude. Being a freak was no longer enough to describe him. This was a heaven-defying style. Teacher Ma's eyes were burning. Zuoxiaoduo, thank you for speaking up for us just now. Huayong High Martial Arts. If you have anything to say it after the competition. Another teacher interrupted him sternly. The life and death arena is not over yet. If you talk nonsense, won't you disturb Zuoxiaoduo's state of mind? Teacher Ma gritted his teeth and looked at the teacher with a gaze as if he wanted to swallow him in one bite. Zuoxiaoduo had defeated the opponent's captain, so there was no suspense. Although there was still one more round according to the rules, who would dare to come up and die? What did he mean by the life and death arena was not over yet? This bastard obviously didn't want me to say anything. Poor me, I had to lower my status and use what happened just now as a topic. What the fuck? The female teacher who spoke just now smiled even more gently. Zuoxiaoduo, let's talk about the competition just now. I'm Ding Xiulan from Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts. I'm really curious, how did you win just now? Although I know you must have used a hidden weapon, I really couldn't tell what kind of hidden weapon it was. And that leg technique of yours. At the critical moment of life and death, what kind of leg technique did you use? The other teachers were holding their breaths and admiring him. Look at him, he naturally revealed his identity according to the context. The whole process was natural and he even used the words to ask a question. He was really good at this, eloquence was really good. He was indeed from Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts. He was so pretentious that he could even play mind games better than others. They were ashamed of their inferiority. However, this question was also what everyone wanted to ask the most. Teacher Ding, you have sharp eyes. I did use a hidden weapon. Zuoxiaoduo took out a handful of sparkling and translucent small gourds. Small buttons, small orchids. Small, they were all very delicate. Very beautiful. Sparkling and translucent. Isn't this an ordinary low-quality jade? A teacher picked up a small gourd and said in surprise, "This is it?" "That's it," Zuoxiaoduo said innocently. "Why do you use these flashy things? Why don't you use a stronger material? What kind of lethality can these hidden weapons have?" The teacher frowned and felt that it was very inconceivable. "Why do you want to practice hidden weapons?" Another teacher asked. "It's quite beautiful," a female teacher said. "It's just that it's not lethal enough." There were different opinions, and they all focused their attention on Zuoxiaoduo. "I'm just thinking that these hidden weapons don't have much lethality." Zuoxiaoduo smiled honestly and said, "Hidden weapons can easily kill the enemy in a sneak attack. But with mine it won't be fatal under normal circumstances. I'm still at the stage of learning, and there's still some time before I can really fight against the Umno Alliance on the battlefield. Hidden weapons are a kind of transitional weapon for me, and they can't be used as a trump card for a long time. If I go to the battlefield in the future, I guess I won't use them anymore." This kid is really kind-hearted and thoughtful. As for using hidden weapons and leg skills, Zuoxiaoduo coughed and explained embarrassedly, "Actually, the nickname Iron Fist Young Master is just a normal disguise. My current life-saving method is this hidden weapon, and the Dragon Gate Kick, which is my real trump card. In the battle just now, if Wu Yuntian really rushed over with the cultivation strength he showed and the power of his moves, I might really be in danger. After all, my cultivation is not enough, so I chose to use a hidden weapon to interfere. At that time, he was so angry that he hit me in the eyes." Zuoxiaoduo looked ashamed and said uneasily, "This is a battle of life and death, so it shouldn't be considered breaking the rules, right?" No, how can it be considered breaking the rules? Of course it's fine, it's fine." Several teachers nodded in affirmation at the same time. They warned each other with their eyes and felt a little ashamed. This child was really honest. In just a few words, he actually revealed his trump card. Sigh, as teachers, it's really not nice of us to use our status and power to get this information out of him. I hope no one will tell this to others. Teacher Ding Xiulan of Shangjing Ancestral Dragon High School looked at the others and said, "This is a life-saving trump card. And it can't be revealed." The other teachers nodded in agreement. This was a necessary guarantee. Each and every one of them looked at Zhou Xiaoduo with an indescribable admiration and fondness. What a good kid. He respected his teachers and was gentle and courteous. He was honest and sincere, and he was loyal and righteous. He was determined, righteous, and handsome. Zhou Xiaoduo, your temper is too straightforward. Teacher Ding Xiulan sighed and said, "When you encounter injustice, you stand up for justice. When you meet people who are good to you, you pour your heart out. If you do this, you will suffer in the future. Sai, you can come to Ancestral Dragon High School. I will do my best to teach you. Otherwise, when you enter society in the future, with your straightforward temper." The other teachers admired him more and more. They were so impressed that they wanted to prostrate themselves. This act of poaching was really done without the slightest trace of human activity. Zhou Xiaoduo opened his eyes wide and said seriously, "Teachers, you are all respected elders. You are all respected seniors. Of course I have to tell the truth. If it was someone else I wouldn't say it. I'm not stupid." Ha ha ha. Good kid. All the teachers felt a burst of warm feeling. Such a good kid was a peerless genius, a peerless demon. If he could come to their school and become a legend, it was foreseeable that almost all the teachers present had this thought in their hearts. There was a cry from the opposite side. Teacher Li Changqiu of Fenghai City's No. 13 High School said angrily, "Zhou Xiaoduo, you murderer. Fenghai City's No. 13 High School will never let you go." Chapter 332. Li Changqiu was going crazy. 3 top geniuses from 2 big families had died in one battle. It was not hard to imagine what he would suffer when he returned. Before anyone could speak, Ding Xiulan had already stepped out. Her expression was cold and her voice was cold. "Li Changqiu, as a teacher you should be a role model. What you said just now, only you could say that. I only ask you, was the life and death battle proposed by your people? Let me ask you again, did your people sign the life and death contract? The third question is, what are the rules of the life and death battle?" Ding Xiulan did not hide her disdain. "You forced others to sign the life and death contract. Forced others to fight to the death. Now that your own people are dead, you actually say that the other party is a murderer?" If this sentence was said by a student of 13th high school, I can understand it as a moment of anger, and the teacher did not teach properly. But as a teacher, you actually said such words. How can you be a role model? Let's not talk about others. As long as I, Ding Xiulan, am in this world, Fenghai City's 13th high school and the families of the dead students, including everyone, if anyone dares to play dirty and make a move on Zhou Xiaoduo, or the students of Phoenix City, I, Ding Xiulan, will fight to the death with you." Ding Xiulan's face was cold, and her voice was powerful. This is the rule of martial arts. This is the fate of martial artists. This is the Longhu ranking battle. This is high martial arts enrollment. Who dares to offend? Ding Xiulan looked around. If you agree to bet, you must accept defeat. Life and death are predestined. Our Ancestral Dragon High School firmly upholds the rules of martial arts. Who is not convinced? Stand out. At this moment, Teacher Ding Xiulan was really domineering and awe-inspiring. The other teachers also agreed. That's right, Teacher Ding is right, I agree. If anyone wants to take revenge on Zhou Xiaoduo, they must first go through me, Ma Zhangxi. Teacher Ma also stood out. Our Huayang High School will not sit by and watch this kind of phenomenon. We will definitely put an end to it. Below the stage, Teacher Luo Yanling shouted. Our Northeast Jade Sun High School firmly upholds the rules of martial arts. Those who violate it will be severely punished. Our Hidden Dragon High School firmly upholds the rules of martial arts. Those who violate the rules will be in vain. We, the few teachers who spoke too late, cursed in their hearts while shouting out the name of their school. Otherwise, these geniuses would really be taken away by Ding Xiulan. This woman really wasn't a good person. Looking at how she grasped the opportunity and how she was the first to stand out, the gazes of those young men were burning with respect. Damn it. It was so good to be a woman. She could act shamelessly as much as she wanted. These beautiful words were really beautiful. Countless male teachers felt that their gender was really wrong. Competing with this group of female teachers, there was really no advantage at all. At the very least, he had never even thought about such a thing before. It's not that our thinking isn't meticulous, it's purely the disadvantage of our gender. As a man, it was too unfair. Swishaoduo's eyes were brimming with tears. Thank you, teachers, for speaking up for me. Thank you so much. With your words, my heart instantly calmed down. My home is instantly safe. Ding Xiaolan gently nodded and said, Xiaoduo, don't be afraid. Teacher will stand up for you. The other teachers felt their teeth ache again. They really wanted to leave in a huff. She was too shameless. With this tone, she actually directly called Xiaoduo and called herself a teacher. Your ancestral dragon high school is one of the top 3 famous schools. Is there a need to? Do you lack geniuses? Is there a need to lower your status to compete with us? Is there a need to? Ding Xiaolan's gaze locked onto Li Changqiu and said in an unusually dignified manner, Li Changqiu, I only want to ask you. In the following 4th battle, is your Fenghai 13 still going to fight? Fight or not? This was a question. The numerous teachers present all looked at this teacher Li with ridicule in their eyes. They saw him standing there like a wooden chicken. His face was pale and his body was on the verge of collapsing. He said dejectedly, No, we admit defeat. Teacher Ma Zhongxi snorted and said, Admit defeat? According to the rules of the life and death ring, once the life and death contract is signed, the battle will be fought to the last one. How can it be settled by just admitting defeat and forfeiting? Li Changqiu said with grief and indignation, We have already admitted defeat. Could it be that the teachers of high school have to be so overbearing? Do you have to watch the seed students of our school die? Ma Zhongxi said coldly, Did we force you to sign the life and death contract? You were full of murderous intent and forced the opponent to sign the life and death contract. If you were the one who had the upper hand now, would you be merciful and let the defeated opponent go? Li Changqiu, if you can't afford to play, why should you sign the life and death contract? Li Changqiu's face was ashen, extremely twisted and ferocious. Suddenly he spat out a mouthful of blood. Ma Zhongxi shouted, What? Spitting blood to gain sympathy? The life and death ring is not something that you can cancel with a mere mouthful of blood. Li Changqiu, quickly let your side enter the life and death ring. Continue to fight. Enter the ring. Ma Zhongxi shouted loudly. The remaining 3 students of Fenghai's 13 middle school were all pale, their bodies trembling like sieves. For the first time they felt that the road of martial arts was actually so dangerous. The feeling of imminent death was so real and urgent. Ma Zhongxi really hated Li Changqiu to the bone. Otherwise, from his standpoint, he would have tried to mediate the situation and ask Xiaoduo for a favor to end this match. However, Li Changqiu's words were harsh, and he even scolded Huayang and Gaowu together. Since this enmity had already been formed, this was a great opportunity to hit him when he was down. Even if he wanted to kill him, why not? He just wanted to make him lose face. Anyway, he would definitely not dare to send another student to the ring. If he sent another student to the ring, it would not be Xiaoduo killing people, but Li Changqiu sending students to their deaths. How could the families of the remaining 3 students let go of the initiator of this battle, Li Changqiu? Teacher Ma, Teacher Ding, Xiaoduo said with a face full of pity. Students Xiaoduo, what do you want to say? Since the other party has already admitted defeat, victory and defeat are clear. Let's just forget about it. After all, the other 3 students did not sign the life and death arena contract. Forcing this life and death arena contract on them, I feel a little bad. Xiaoduo's face was honest and sincere, and he couldn't bear it. As the winner of the life and death battle, I will end the rest of the battle with the result of not winning the remaining 3 battles. Is this okay? Xiaoduo said in a deep voice. This sentence immediately won the cheers of the audience. Countless people felt that. This child was too good at heart, too kind. He was really a good child with a kind heart, and took the overall situation into consideration. This kind of child, and this kind of peerless talent at that, was really hard to find even with a lantern in hand. In time, he would definitely be a pillar of the astral soul's mainland. Today was just the beginning of his legend, the first battle of the mythical voyage, the first chapter. The battle for the top 20, Phoenix City's 2nd high school versus Fenghai City's 13th high school, ended. Phoenix City's 2nd high school strode forward with its head held high, advancing into the top 15, while its opponent, Fenghai City's 13th high school, sadly ended, announcing their withdrawal from the competition in advance. There was no other reason than that the team was directly crippled. 3 of the 6 contestants were dead, and the captain and vice-captain were dead. The surviving team members had already lost their will to fight. That afternoon, Li Changqiu and the other teacher hurriedly left Nanji City with the 3 remaining team members. Before the life and death battle ended, Li Changqiu and the other teacher's cell phones were exploding with calls. This match was broadcasted live on the internet. Life and death battle. 3 people died on the spot. This kind of thing, this kind of result might be a lively event in the eyes of others, but in Fenghai City it was a big deal that had already set off a tsunami. The principal's office of Fenghai City's 13th high school had been smashed into smithereens by the furious principal. In Fenghai City's school, the higher-ups of the Wu family and the Gao family were all present. Now that they could not find trouble with Zuoxiao Duo, their anger was directed at Li Changqiu. It was clearly Fenghai City's side who proposed the life and death battle. Shouldn't they have absolute confidence? Why did things turn out like this? How did Li Changqiu lead his team? How dare he agree to something like the life and death battle without absolute confidence? Fuck Li Changqiu, is his brain stuffed with suspenders? Without the instruction of the lead teacher, why would my Tian'er sign the life and death battle contract? Li Changqiu, you murderer. My 2 daughters are even more innocent. They were purely forced to their deaths by Li Changqiu and Wu Yuntian. Fuck your mother's fart. What does this have to do with our Tian'er? Who the fuck are you scolding? If it wasn't for your Wu Yuntian who insisted on signing the life and death contract, would my daughters have died? Wu, you will pay with your life. The chaos in Fenghai City involved the 2 major families, the local martial arts school, and the 3 factions. It almost instantly spread to the entire city. The entire 13th high school was in a state of paralysis. Countless parents rushed into the school. Is your teacher retarded? He actually scolded the Huayang High School teachers directly in the live broadcast? Bastard! Are you trying to cut off my child's future path of advancement? Now, I don't know how many high school martial arts schools will no longer accept students from Fenghai 13th High School. Are you satisfied? I'm really unlucky to send my son to your school. Now that my child's future has been ruined by you, are you satisfied? You have to take responsibility, Ba. Can you take responsibility? I'm really a fucking dog for choosing your school. What about my child's future? Can anyone think of a way? 13th high school must take responsibility. Usually you collect money so quickly you can't wait to suck us dry. Now that I've seen it, the entire school from top to bottom, from inside to outside, is obviously full of idiots. I'm not talking about the students, I'm talking about the teachers. Does anyone have any objections? A bunch of retards run your fucking school. You have to give me an explanation. Otherwise, I'll definitely go to the Martial Arts Bureau to complain about you. You're a bunch of thieves and prostitutes. You don't even have the basic morals. You don't even have a mouth, only filthy words. Chapter 333. Let's not talk about how chaotic Fenghai City was. 2 flowers bloomed, each showing a branch. Now the focus was still on the Longhu list. Phoenix City No. 2 High School was still in the top 15 with a winning record, and ranked first in total points. They were high up looking down on the heroes, especially the captain Zuoxiao Duo, who rose to fame in a single battle. He was brave, resourceful, intelligent, wise, honest, respectful, courteous, and kind-hearted. He received the praise of almost the entire society. This kind of praise was hard to buy even with money. Of course, there were also people who spoke sourly on the internet. No matter how good Zuoxiao Duo is, he's still a murderer. Why doesn't he know how to be merciful when it's possible to spare people? 3 fresh human lives were all buried in his hands. How can 2 bloody hands be considered benevolent? This kind of argument, as soon as it appeared, would immediately be criticized to the point of being depressed. That was the life and death ring. If you are so kind, why don't you go up and try? As long as you go up the ring and wait for death, we will believe your words. You are doing it for the sake of justice, not for the sake of standing and talking. Instead, kicking people in the crotch became a hot topic. The Kunlun Taoist sect began to be known by the public. Currently, among the 4 hot favorites to win the championship, Phoenix City No. 2 High School once again took back one of the spots. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Fenghai No. 3 High School, Yangluo No. 1 High School, Phoenix City No. 2 High School, Water City No. 1 High School, which was originally a hot favorite to win the championship, encountered Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. They fought until the last person and finally lost. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, who won, also had a tragic victory. These 2 schools had fought for an entire afternoon. Exhaustion was secondary. All the students who participated in the battle were covered in bruises and injuries. There were few who were lucky. However, the audience at their battle arena was not even 1/10 of the audience who watched Phoenix City No. 2 High School's life and death ring. After the bitter battle, the victory and defeat did not stir up any waves. There were not even many people discussing it. The battle on the stage was extremely tragic, but the internet below the stage was deserted. In the next battle for the top 15, the top 11 would advance to the next round. In the battle on the morning of the second day, Phoenix City No. 2 High School encountered a team. Originally, their overall combat power was quite impressive. They had 2 practitioners who had advanced to the embryonic breathing realm, and could be said to be a strong team. It was a pity that after the continuous battles they were basically crippled. Moreover, all of them were injured. With such a lineup against Phoenix City's second high school, which was still strong and full of fighting power, they simply admitted defeat after only 2 rounds. The battle prowess of both sides were not on the same level at all. It was better not to lose face. This smooth battle had successfully sent Phoenix City's No. 2 High School into the top 11, and they were still in first place in terms of total points. The next battle was the battle of the top 8, and for the teams that were able to make it this far, all of the students were the cream of the crop. None of them were mediocre. The next round of the quarterfinals would be held 2 days later. This was the usual practice of the large competition. At this stage of the large competition, it was inevitable that the members of every battle team would be injured and exhausted, their strength greatly reduced. Therefore, he deliberately set aside 2 days of rest to allow the exhausted students to rest and recover. He didn't deliberately target anyone, nor did he have the intention to provide assistance to anyone. South G City even opened up the martial arts nourishment chamber and provided the nourishment cabins for the participating students to use for free. This allowed the teams that made it into the top 11 to have the benefit of recuperation and nourishment. Although Phoenix City's second high school was in first place in terms of points and also had this treatment, all of their members were in good condition and their battle prowess was not affected at all. Originally, they did not need this kind of recovery aid. But the bad thing was that the other party was too obvious with their intention of giving way. Your Phoenix City's second high school probably doesn't need the nourishment cabins. These words were said with a hint of hypocrisy. Of course we do. Zhuo Duo, who valued wealth more than life, did not wait for the others to speak. He immediately agreed without hesitation. We really need them. Thank you for the considerate arrangement of the large competition, thank you. The other party could not help but be dumbfounded. Out of all the teams, you are the only ones who do not have any injuries. Every one of you is full of energy. What do you need the nourishment cabins for? To soak in a bath. We have been fighting fiercely for several days. Our muscles and bones are already aching. We need to recuperate. Thank you, thank you. When can we go? Zhuo's face was full of enthusiasm. He held the other party's hand and did not let go for a long time. This person's face was distorted. We can do it now. You guys are the first in the large competition. Naturally, you guys will be the first to recover. Every team has 5 hours of recuperation time. Because there are a lot of injured people in this large competition, more nourishment cabins will be used than usual. Great. Zhuo's face was full of smiles. Wait for me. Let us pack up and take off all the weights. Then take us there. As he spoke, he led the few fellows into the inner room. He even slammed the door shut. The other party's nose was almost flattened by the door. He was speechless and puzzled. You guys are not injured. Why do you need the nourishment cabins? Do you really want to soak in a bath? Inside the room, Long Yuxing and the others who knew the purpose of the nourishment cabins were also puzzled. Zua, we are not injured. Why do we need the nourishment cabins? You don't really plan to use that thing to soak in a bath, do you? Long Yuxing asked, puzzled. I say, you 5 iron fools, why can't you think deeper? Zua Xiaoduo was exasperated. Can't we enter the nourishment cabins if we are not injured? Who said that? Who made the rule? If we are not injured, why do we go in? Is it just to soak in a bath? Wan Lixio looked puzzled. Stupid. Zua Xiaoduo lowered his voice. If any of you talk about soaking in a bath again, be careful. I will get angry with you. The nourishment liquid in the nourishment cabins is the purest spiritual energy. How can it be compared to bathwater? Even if you are not injured, you don't even know how to drink it? This is a great bargain delivered to our doorstep. What? Wan Lixio's voice almost changed. Drink. The others were also horrified. They looked at Zua Xiaoduo as if they were looking at a crazy demon. Boss, even if you value money more than life, you can't be so extreme, right? Zua Xiaoduo was furious. What? Am I wrong? Or is that thing poisonous? Yes. It's not poisonous, but... Wan Lixio looked conflicted. Will we die if we drink it? Zua Xiaoduo asked again. No. But... Are there any benefits to drinking it? Zua Xiaoduo asked 3 times. Of course there are benefits, but... Zua Xiaoduo waved his hand and interrupted them. Since it's not poisonous and you won't die from drinking it, why are you hesitating? You don't want to take advantage of it delivered to your mouth? Zua Xiaoduo pointed at the 5 people. You want to become strong masters with this kind of awareness? You want to catch up with me? You don't even dare to drink a mouthful of the nourishment liquid. Do you think it's dirty? Do you know how much you can gain from drinking a belly full of nourishment liquid and slowly digesting it? Do you know how much your cultivation base can increase after drinking it? Do you know how much it can increase your strength? Zua Xiaoduo looked at the 5 people in surprise. What is in your brain? Is it brain matter? Why do I look down on each and every one of you now? This kind of look down. Why don't you look down on us forever? Seeing that everyone was still conflicted and hesitant, Zua Xiaoduo directly ordered, since we're going later and the matter is settled, I'm not afraid to tell you that if anyone doesn't drink it, if anyone doesn't drink enough, I'll beat him to death when he comes back. Also, don't even think about participating in the competition after this. I'm the captain and I have the final say. Wait here. Let's go. Zua Xiaoduo opened the door and left. The 5 people behind him, each of them had different expressions as they followed him out shyly. When the 6 people from Phoenix City No. 2 High School finished using the nourishment pods and left, the person in charge of looking after the nourishment pods discovered that a large portion of the nourishment liquid had gone down. The person in charge of the nourishment pods couldn't help but be shocked. These children looked fine, but it turned out that they had suffered serious internal injuries and had to use so much nourishment liquid to heal. It really wasn't easy. No wonder they could get first place, they had risked their lives to get it. When Hu Ruoyun and Luolai returned from a meeting, it was already past dinner time. They frowned and asked, what are you doing? Why didn't I see you guys eating when we were eating? Then when they carefully sized up the few of them, they couldn't help but widen their eyes. As far as the eye could see, Zua Xiaoduo and the rest of the 6 people were lying on the sofa with big bellies, holding their stomachs and groaning. The size of their stomachs was not much different from that of a pregnant woman who was 6 or 7 months pregnant. Hu Ruoyun and Luolai's eyes almost popped out. You guys, what kind of food did you secretly eat? Why are you so full? Wan Lixio blushed and hid her head in her armpit, not saying a word. Li Chenglong looked around and saw that no one was speaking. He coughed and played the role of vice captain. Cough, it's like this. In the afternoon, we went to the nourishment pods to soak for a bit. And then? Hu Ruoyun and Luolai stared at him and asked. Under Zua's orders. Li Chenglong held his stomach and said with difficulty, we drank all the nourishment pods in the nourishment pods. At this moment, Hu Ruoyun and Luolai's feelings and thoughts were simply indescribable. It was a subtle feeling as if they had been struck by lightning. Zua said that it was the essence of spiritual energy. Yu Moyan held his stomach and said, it was very beneficial. Hu Ruoyun was completely dumbfounded. She didn't know what to say. Spiritual energy. Of course, it was the purest form of spiritual energy. It was indeed beneficial. This. For a moment, they didn't know what to say. Have you guys not thought about how many people have soaked in it? Luolai was speechless. Zua said, we were the first batch to use it this time. There was a high chance that the nourishment pods were newly infused. Even if they weren't, nourishment pods are still nourishment pods. There is no difference in essence. Drinking it will bring us more benefits. It's better than being beaten to death because of lack of benefits. Long Yuxing held his stomach and explained weakly. The key was that he was too full. He really didn't have the energy to speak. Chapter 334. Suoxiaoduo was at the side, holding his stomach as he tried to digest. He rolled his eyes. Look at how reluctant these guys are. Humph, you will know the benefits after you digest it. You don't know how to thank me, you still owe me money for the space ring. Hu Ruoyun and Luolai went outside to rest as if they were sleepwalking. It looked like the six of them didn't need to eat for the time being. The two of them looked at each other for a while. Hu Ruoyun said softly, it would be strange if these guys don't succeed in the future. Luolai nodded. It was hard to accept at the beginning. But after thinking about it, what they said and did was right. Use all means to become stronger. This is the heart of a strong warrior. Luolai sighed and felt sad. Why didn't I think of drinking a little at that time? Hu Ruoyun retched instinctively. Until the afternoon of the second day, their stomachs were still bulging. According to Zuoxiaoduo's words, even if you have to pee, you have to endure it and focus on cultivating. Try to absorb as much as you can. If you really can't absorb anymore, then do those useless things. It's really useful. Wan Lixio was exultant. I feel that a lot of new vitality has seeped into my meridians. This growth is still happening. I really want to drink more. Everyone else's faces were also filled with joy. Don't you think it's dirty now? Suoxiaoduo looked at Wan Lixio and teased. Dirty. It's still dirty, but it's really useful. Wan Lixio was embarrassed. For strength. Humph. Suoxiaoduo lowered his voice and said, now I'll teach you another lesson. Once you enter the higher martial arts level, challenge the strong once in a while. Let yourself be seriously injured, or at least make it look like you're seriously injured. Then try to enter the nutrition cabin. Let me tell you, the nutrition cabin of the higher martial arts level is much stronger than what we're drinking now. The five people's eyes lit up as they nodded their heads, looking as if they were deep in thought. Of course, Zuoxiaoduo did not know that his impromptu training had caused a lot of trouble for the major martial arts schools in the future. Now he was listing out the remaining 10 teams. Hu Ruoyun and Luolai had agreed to Zuoxiaoduo's request and brought back the videos of the other teams' previous matches. The 8 of them each had a computer and were watching videos with their headsets. Zuoxiaoduo was watching 3 videos each. After he finished reading, 3 of the teams were directly thrown into the cold palace by him. The captains of these 3 teams are at most as strong as Yu Moyan, Li Zhongming, and Long Yuxing. The others are nothing special. It would be strange if Zuoxiaoduo was interested in such an opponent. He strolled behind the other 7 people. Stop. Sure. Let's pause for a moment. Long Yuxing, your pause. Teacher Luo, your pause. Zuoxiaoduo's eyes suddenly lit up. I have to watch these 3 videos one by one. These 3. Hu Ruoyun also paused her own video and said, Hidden Dragon 1? Fenghai 3? Yang Luai? Zuoxiaoduo nodded and said, yes. I suggest you watch Xuecheng as well. Hu Ruoyun said, apart from us, this is the most popular team to win the championship. I don't need to watch Xuecheng. Zuoxiaoduo looked at Hu Ruoyun's page and said, the 6 people in Xuecheng are the kind of people who can make friends. They are very open and chivalrous. Oh. Hu Ruoyun frowned and wondered, are you praising them? Why do I feel that it doesn't sound right? Everyone roared with laughter at once. Zuoxiaoduo said seriously, it's really a compliment. Although I don't agree with their approach, it doesn't mean that I don't have a good impression of these 6 people. On the contrary, I really appreciate them. They are standard martial artists who follow the standard spirit of martial arts. They won't hide anything. They will be a dignified army throughout the whole process. The two armies will confront each other with pure strength. They disdain to use any tricks. Zhou Xiaoduo said seriously to Long Yuxing and others, these 6 people, after you go to your respective high martial arts universities in the future, if you are destined to become classmates with them, you can make friends with them. Each of them belongs to the kind of people who can entrust their backs to you. You can't be wrong. Wan Lixiu and others wrote it down seriously. They had never seen Zhou Xiaoduo praise anyone. This was the first time in history. People who could be evaluated by Zhou Xiaoduo like this must not be wrong. This was already the consensus of the 5 people, also known as basic common sense. The headmaster of Shui City No. 1 Middle School was the general of the Southern Army, Gu Qianfan, the sword of no return. When Gu Qianfan was the first vanguard of the Southern Army, he would go forward in every battle, and would rather break than bend. His sword of no return meant that he would rather go straight and not ask for something in a curve. Once the sword is out, there is no turning back. Hu Ruoyun sighed and said, Headmaster Gu Qianfan later encountered the Grand Sage of Fire in a battle. Half of his body was destroyed by the true essence fire. The frontline doctors tried all means but still couldn't repair it. His life was in danger. In order to save his life, Marshal Nan Zhengqian personally asked for the Heaven Reversal Pill. The one who had the Heaven Reversal Pill was old Minister Nan of the Ministry of Finance, who was Marshal Nan's father. The old man's request was that the Marshal of the Southern Army should come back to take over the Ministry of Finance when his term was up. Otherwise, he would not give the Heaven Reversal Pill. Marshal Nan agreed immediately and asked for the Heaven Reversal Pill to save Gu Qianfan's life. Gu Qianfan felt ashamed to face Marshal Nan. He was disabled, so he resolutely retired from the army. Later, he became the headmaster of Shuicheng No. 1 Middle School until now. Since then, all the students from Shuicheng No. 1 Middle School have been like this. They would rather break than bend and die than submit. Shuicheng No. 1 Middle School will never accept those who have a slightly wrong character, even if their qualifications are incredible. Hu Ruoyun said, Gu Qianfan is a legendary figure. It's natural for him to teach such students. It's not surprising. He's indeed a legendary figure. It's just a normal operation to teach 6 upright heroes in one breath. Zhou Xiaoduo said, You don't say. The 6 of them are like the same mold. It's amazing. He smiled and said, In fact, if Long Yuxing and Yu Moyan hadn't been with me for a long time, they should be such people. Li Chenglong said lazily, I know. One who stays with ink will be stained black. Swollen. Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes showed a fierce light. Give me the money in your space ring quickly. Li Chenglong coughed and replied very casually, What are you shouting for? I don't have money now. When I earn money in the future, I will naturally give it to you. Why are you in a hurry? Am I the kind of person who owes money and doesn't pay it back? Zhou Xiaoduo was speechless and said to Hu Ruoyun, Look what kind of quality the students in our school have. Hu Ruoyun pursed her lips and smiled. I remember that Li Chenglong was very honest before he met you. I also think that what he said just now is really right. One who stays with the cinnabar is marked by the red. The students taught by the old headmaster Gu are first class, open and above board. Well, Xiaoduo, I don't mean anything else. Don't think too much. Zhou Xiaoduo was hit by this sentence and directly closed his eyes. He silently turned around and watched the video. As Zhou Xiaoduo watched, he constantly paused and tilted his head to watch. After a while, the others gathered behind him. The captain and vice-captain of Hidden Dragon High School No. 1 are both hiding their strength and hiding a lot. The 2 girls should also be hiding their strength. I feel that the one with the highest combat power in Fenghai High School No. 3 should be No. 2. The captain is not necessarily the strongest among them. Zhou Xiaoduo frowned as he watched and said, The tall girl from Yangluo High School is very noteworthy. Her strength is unfathomable. She is the one who hides her strength the most out of everyone. Right now, our biggest opponent is still Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. They should have used the benefits in room No. 1 as soon as they came, causing their strength to increase by another step. However, because of this benefit, their control of their own aura is no longer perfect, and there are many unnatural situations. It should be because they are not used to the sudden increase in strength. After Zuo finished his comments, he continued to watch. After watching for a while, he paused again. Then he continued to comment. How can you tell? Hu Ruoyun was a little surprised. Because my ability to hide my strength is far better than theirs. When it comes to hiding strength, I am the ancestor. Zuo coughed and said proudly, hiding my strength like this is the right way to do it. I am worthy of the Best Actor award. Their so-called concealment is only at the entry level, and is not worth mentioning. I believe that their concealment was already seen through by the referees, but absolutely no one saw through my concealment. Zuo showed a lonely expression and sighed. There are too few people like me in the world. Other than wanting to laugh, everyone was speechless. You are so insidious that you actually know how to be insidious and still boast about yourself. For 2 days in a row. Zuo stayed in his room and studied the battle video. He felt more and more that there were indeed many geniuses in this world. He had indeed underestimated the heroes of the world before. Facing such a group of insidious people, Zuo felt very melancholy. How annoying. Why are these people so insidious? Until this night, Zuo ordered, everyone take off the weights. Zuo's face was very serious. From tomorrow onwards, prepare for a fierce battle. Not confident. Hu Ruoyun's face also became serious. It's not that we are not confident. Zuo's face was sullen. In the current situation, we have to try to hide our strength as much as possible, so that it will be difficult for our opponents to determine our strength in the future. If we stick to the traditional method, when we start a match with any of the families, there is a possibility that the next opponent will take advantage of our weakness. Our goal is to win, so of course we have to avoid this situation. So after tomorrow's battle, everyone will start a special training. Make changes or create reverse traps based on our own weaknesses. And this will require the rich martial arts experience of the 2 teachers to help us complete. Luo Lai breathed a sigh of relief and said, this is definitely not a problem. We will do our best. 4th update, looking for monthly votes. Recommendation votes. Subscribe. Chapter 335. Not only that, but we also have to study the traps that they may set for us. At my current level, I'm not afraid of any of them but Swollen and the others. If we're not careful, it's very likely that we'll be defeated. I hope that my teammates can complete this competition with a complete victory. But now it seems that it's a little difficult. Zuo took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, there are only 30 pills with special effects to recover true inner force. It's not enough. Zuo said. Hu Ruoyun frowned and said, how many more do we need? I'll think of a way. We need at least 12 more pills. Zuo estimated. I'll go and get them. Hu Ruoyun turned and left. Tomorrow. I want all of you to keep your spirits up. Now remove the weights and get used to your current state. Then train your speed accordingly. Don't panic and be in a state of panic. Zuo said. It was a quiet night. The next morning the weather was great. The sun was shining brightly like a fire. Zuo brought his team to the arena very early. It was still the first group. Under everyone's gaze, Zuo and his team of 6 arrived with their clothes fluttering in the wind. The eyes of the referees who had been waiting for them lit up. They looked more expectant than before. Previously, these 6 little fellows were all dressed up like they were going for a spin. But now they were all agile and elegant. It was obvious that they had removed their own weight. They had been carrying weights before and had swept the competition. Now that they had removed their weights, how powerful would they be? One by one the teams came to the arena. The 11 teams were brimming with energy and vigor. 5 matches would be held today. After the 5 matches, the 5 defeated teams and the team with a bye would draw lots again. The losers would be eliminated directly, and the winners would advance to the top 8. The first group. All the matches would be completed here. Although it was only 8 o'clock in the morning, the weather was already unbearably hot. When Zuo and the others arrived, the other teams were already in place. As Zuo walked forward, there were many teachers who greeted him cordially. Zhou Xiaoduo, you look very energetic today. He. Zhou Xiaoduo chuckled. Teacher, you're even more spirited. Zhou Xiaoduo, why are you so late today? I'm sorry, teacher. There was a traffic jam. Zhou Xiaoduo, do your best. Teacher Ma Zhangxi shouted. Thank you, Teacher Ma. Zhou Xiaoduo will never forget your kindness. Good child. Teacher Ma was comforted. Zhou Xiaoduo. After countless greetings, Zhou Xiaoduo smiled all the way. Gradually, his face became stiff. Yu Moyan. In front, Teacher Luo Yinling jumped out. Good luck. Thank you, Teacher Luo. Yu Moyan also had feelings for Teacher Luo, so he responded gratefully. The students from the other 10 teams were all dumbfounded by this situation. Why were the students from Phoenix City's No. 2 high school so popular? Why did it seem like the hundreds of teachers present at the scene all recognized them? All of them couldn't be the descendants of some big shot, could they? Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai had just sat down when a few teachers came to find them. Teacher Hu, Teacher Luo. That's me. What can I do for you, teacher? It's like this. We're from the disciplinary committee of the tournament committee. We have something to ask the two of you. Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai were both puzzled by the arrival of these people. Why would the disciplinary committee of the tournament committee look for them? They didn't violate the rules. The two teachers hesitated for a moment. They considered their words carefully and said, it's like this. Just the day before yesterday, Teacher Li Changqiu from Fenghai No. 13 High School took the remaining 3 students and withdrew from the tournament. They returned to Fenghai. Teacher Hu should know about this. Hu Ruoyun said, I know. At that time, Teacher Li Changqiu expressed his intention to forfeit. We didn't have the intention to kill them and agreed to their forfeit. Since they forfeited, they should go back. Yes, this part of the situation is basically the same as what we know. The teacher nodded and said, it said that Teacher Li Changqiu and Teacher Hu, when you were young you had old grudges. Hu Ruoyun nodded honestly and said, this is not a secret. What happened back then? Teacher Hu was very generous. He told them about the past in detail. The teacher took notes seriously and his eyes swept over Hu Ruoyun. Zhou Xiaoduo, who was following by the side, felt that something was amiss. He couldn't help but ask, Teacher, from what you're saying, could it be that something happened to Teacher Li on the way here? The teacher glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo and sighed. That's right. Teacher Li was attacked on the way back. We don't know if he's dead or alive. There's such a thing? That's so satisfying. Zhou Xiaoduo's face was full of surprise. Then he said, I mean, this is really indescribable. This Teacher Li has offended too many people in these 2 days. It's really good to be kind to others. The teacher opposite them was stunned when he heard this. It should be said that the speaker didn't mean it, but the listener did. That Li Changqiu had really offended a lot of people these 2 days. Just the fact that he was found out on the spot while cursing Huayong High School in the stands. He believed that a lot of people wanted to beat him up. He was unlucky. No matter who did it, the words satisfying were really appropriate. Hu Ruoyun laughed and said, Teacher, are you suspecting that I attacked Teacher Li Changqiu? The teacher's expression turned awkward. He paused and said, according to the investigation, Teacher Li's enemy. Ahem. Hu Ruoyun said solemnly, I, Hu Ruoyun, swear to God that I didn't do it. In fact, my whereabouts these 2 days are all well documented. Even if I wanted to, I didn't have the time to do it. And, Hu Ruoyun smiled faintly. This old grudge of mine has really been in the past for too many years. If you want to take revenge silently, there are too many opportunities. Why do you want to arouse suspicion at this sensitive time? There was nothing wrong with what he said. All the suspicions were washed away in one go. Zhou Xiaoduo asked curiously, hello, teacher. It's been hard on you. I want to ask, is that Teacher Li's injury serious? The teacher nodded and said with a smile, this Teacher Li is very unlucky. Although it's not fatal, but all the meridians in his body are broken. His dantian is directly penetrated. His jindan is shattered. His limbs are broken and his spine is smashed. I'm afraid. He shook his head and sighed. The others who heard this trembled all over. This injury. It was really better to die. If this Teacher Li Changqiu continued to live like this, there seemed to be only one result. which was to live a life worse than death. Zhou Xiaoduo sighed sadly. Teacher Li is too pitiful. What kind of deep hatred does he have? How could he be so cruel? If there's a chance, I'll definitely go to Fenghai to visit. The teacher smiled and said, Li Chengqiu most likely ended up like this because of himself. We're just doing a routine investigation. We don't have any other intentions. Zhou Xiaoduo asked curiously. Then why did you ask our teacher who? Because, according to another teacher and 3 students who were present, the one who did this was a woman. The teacher smiled bitterly. Actually, we're just asking casually. Because there were 2 groups of people who did this. The first group stopped Li Chengqiu and the others. They didn't care about the others and only attacked Li Chengqiu himself. They directly crippled him. Then the others carried teacher Li Chengqiu and continued to walk back. After walking for 100 miles, another woman came to seek revenge. Her target was also teacher Li Chengqiu. She had nothing to do with the others. After seeing him beaten to such a state, she was still a little dissatisfied and broke all the bones in his body. All of them were women. Zhou Xiaoduo was stunned and then guessed. It seems that this teacher Li is probably a scumbag. Teachers, you might as well follow this line of investigation. Maybe it's the people who have been harmed by teacher Li all these years who came to seek revenge. Sai, this person can't be a scumbag. This is a fresh lesson. Long Yusheng, remember this. Long Yusheng. What the hell did I do to provoke you? You're using me as a benchmark. I just owe you a little money, is it worth it? As Zhou Xiaoduo reminded Long Yusheng, he took this opportunity to look at Wan Lixiu. He saw that Xiu also opened her eyes wide and looked confused. He couldn't help but feel his heart skip a beat. Wan Lixiu didn't do this. Then this matter was going to be interesting. Inexplicably, he felt a little uneasy in his heart. This can't be Teacher Mu. Can't be? Teacher Mu shouldn't be here, right? Zhou Xiaoduo had an idea and murmured, could it be Teacher Ma? But he doesn't look like a narrow-minded person. Ahem. Hu Ruoyun coughed repeatedly and looked at Zhou Xiaoduo sternly. This guy is addicted to making trouble. Even if he wants to shift the blame to Jiangdong, he can't hurt anyone he catches. The high school teacher glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo and saw that Zhou Xiaoduo had lowered his head like a quail, looking like he had made a mistake. He couldn't help but laugh and said, no, Huayang High School won't go so far as to. After saying a few words, the high school teacher got up and left. Then he walked around a few times and found a few people. Finally, he found teacher Ma Zhangxi of Huayang High School. Chapter 336. On the rostrum, a high school teacher from the organizers stood up. He seemed to be a leader as he began to read the rules and introduce the 11 teams that had entered the current round. Then it was time for the team leaders to draw lots. This time there were 5 matches at the same time. They were all held in the first district and the first arena. The competition schedule was very concentrated, and the winning and losing principle was to win 3 out of 5 matches. This meant that if a team of 6 people was lucky enough, one of them would not even need to make a move to secure the victory. Or, if they were unlucky, the other 3 would not even need to make a move to lose. Of course, there had been cases of losing 3 matches in a row, and then the other 3 would win 3 matches in a row. In the end, it was a tragic situation of winning 4 out of 7 matches. The real-time ranking was as follows: Phoenix City 2nd High School, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Fenghai No. 3 High School, Yangluo No. 1 High School, Water City No. 1 High School, Southern G No. 1 High School, Shirko No. 1 High School, Phoenix Tail No. 1 High School, Song Mountain No. 1 High School, Dragon Belly No. 1 High School, Garrison No. 1 High School. There were a total of 11 teams, and no one was absent. Besides Phoenix City 2nd High School and Fenghai No. 3 High School, the other martial arts schools were all from the same city. It could be seen that the so-called No. 1 High School is the key mentality was almost the same in the entire continent. It was also the place where the geniuses gathered. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. The men wore black robes and the women wore plain long skirts. They were valiant and formidable looking. The men were handsome, and the women were beautiful. They were all tall and slender. Looking at them, they were a scenery. 4 men and 2 women. They were outstanding. Fenghai No. 3 High School was dressed in black. No matter the men or women, they were all the same. They had a unique style. Water City No. 1 High School. 3 men and 3 women were dressed in snow-white clothes. The sword hilts were exposed on their shoulders. They were like 6 sharp swords that had been unsheathed. The cold light flickered, and they were indomitable. Yangluo No. 1 High School. They were all dressed in blue robes. The 6 of them were all men. They sat cross-legged on the ground with their eyes closed. They did not care about their surroundings. The other schools also had their own unique characteristics. The most eye-catching people from Phoenix City Second High School. The first impression they gave was only one word: rustic. How uncouth. It was probably because these guys were wearing the school uniform with the school emblem embroidered on it. Originally, if this was the end of it, it would still be passable. However, the neat words on their backs, Phoenix City's Second High School, pulled down the style of this set of uniform by a few notches. It was as if they were afraid that others wouldn't know that they were from Phoenix City's Second High School. A martial arts teacher walked out with a box of lots in his hands. The drawing of lots begins. All team leaders, please step forward to draw lots. Zuoxiao Duo stood up calmly, and the 11 captains took a step forward from their respective teams. None of them continued to walk forward. Instead, they swept their eyes across the faces of the other 10 people. The 11 of them felt their faces burning at the same time, as if there were 10 different weapons circling around their faces. Behind them, all the teachers in charge stood up at the same time, retreated 4 positions, and sat down on the spectator stand. According to the rules, they were not allowed to stay beside the team. In other words, from now on, all decisions could only be made by the team itself. All the teachers in charge had a look of worry on their faces. Even if they were full of confidence in the team they were leading, there was no weakling among the remaining teams. No one dared to guarantee that their own students would win, take the lead, and come out on top. Even the teachers in charge of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, who had always had the highest chance of winning, felt extremely uneasy at this moment. After all, it wasn't as if there hadn't been strange occurrences before. The simplest example was that the first and second strongest teams had drawn lots together. After an extreme battle, both sides had suffered losses. In the end, a student whose overall strength was below theirs easily took the lead and became the champion. Although luck was also a part of strength, and a very large part of it, losing like this was still not something one could accept. Therefore, this drawing of lots was luck, but it was also a skill. Zuoxiao Duo was the first to speak, breaking the silence with a laugh. Ha 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 ha. Everyone hasn't moved yet. I guess everyone is waiting for me. Who is ranked first to move first? No problem, no problem. After all, not only is our Phoenix City No. 2 High School ranked first, but now it seems that among the 11 captains, I'm also the tallest. Zuoxiao Duo laughed and took the lead to walk out. Why don't we just line up according to height and walk over together? It'll look so neat. The other 10 captains all rolled their eyes. This guy. Who wants to line up with you? Why should we listen to you? If we were to listen to you, wouldn't we become your accessories? Therefore, after Zuoxiao Duo, the 10 captains all stepped out and walked towards the high platform in 10 different directions. Neither fast nor slow, their footsteps were firm, and they moved forward courageously. The aura of the 10 captains was sharp. Zuoxiao Duo quickened his pace and was the first to arrive in front of the lot box. He said sweetly, "Thank you, teacher. Teacher, you've worked hard. When you come to Phoenix City, please let me know. This student will do his best to be a good host. Thank you, teacher, for your hard work today." As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and drew the first lot under the teacher's comfortable smile. Without even looking, he retreated to the side. The next moment, the 10 captains came to the lot box and stretched out their hands at the same time. The host teacher, who was originally full of kindness, frowned at once. Originally, nothing had happened. Everything was normal. However, after seeing Zuoxiao was sweet-talking and extraordinarily polite scene, why did this teacher feel that these 10 captains seemed to be a little lacking in quality? The teacher has been standing here for so long. You don't even know how to thank me? You're stretching out your hands? Are you robbing me? What about your upbringing? What about your manners? He couldn't help but take a step back and frowned. What are you doing? Line up one by one. I've already done everything for you in front. Why is it still so noisy? Where's your decency? The 10 captains' outstretched hands stopped in midair. They turned their heads and glared fiercely at Swishaoduo. This bastard. He had unknowingly led them into another pit. Damn, why did I say another? Swishaoduo, who was being glared at by everyone, still had an honest smile on his face. He looked at everyone with eyes full of encouragement and said with a face full of righteousness, "Why are you looking at me? Just listen to your teacher. Teacher has such a good temper. How can I really be angry with you?" The 10 captains were so angry that they almost fainted. If it weren't for the last trace of rationality holding them back, they would have attacked him on the spot and beaten this bastard until half of his body was paralyzed. This bastard had an innocent and honest look on his face. However, only those who were involved in the situation knew that every word he said was a trap, and every sentence had a hook. How could there be such a despicable person in this world? How on earth did he train to look so simple and honest? Was this talent? Or was it because of hard work and hard work? With a belly full of anger, they took a step back and took turns to draw lots. When they were drawing lots, everyone said, "Teacher, you've worked hard." This sentence was originally very normal. However, after this, why did it feel so suffocating when they said this sentence? They felt suffocated, but they didn't know that the teacher in charge of drawing lots was even more annoyed than them. If you don't want to say hello, then don't. Every one of you gritted your teeth and said, "Teacher, you've worked hard." I'm really fucking a dog. Are you fucking saying hello to me? Or are you venting your anger on me? There really was no harm without comparison. Now they knew what was gold and what was rubble. After the drawing of lots, this teacher didn't leave immediately. Instead, he stood on the stage and said a few words. There's something that I didn't want to say, but I really have to say it. The teacher held the empty lot box with a gloomy expression on his face. Our Central Plains Longhu ranking competition is held once a year. The original intention was good, but now there are really too many things that don't suit our Central Plains. One after another, they keep coming one after another. I have to say a few words. I'm just a teacher, and I know that my words carry little weight. However, standing here, I still have to remind everyone. What kind of place is the land that we're occupying? This is the land of ancient Qi and Guru in the ancient times. It's also the land of the saints in the legends, the land of etiquette. Not only that, it's said to be the ancient land of gods. In the ancient times, when students enter the examination hall, they have to kowtow to the teacher to thank him for his efforts. An invigilator, a teacher for a day, but a father for life. This is called etiquette. I don't expect you to know etiquette, and I don't expect you to be grateful for a lifetime. However, at the very least you have to have basic etiquette, right? This teacher said resentfully, but I don't understand. Now that you've learned martial arts, carried the title of a genius, and achieved great success, you can disregard respect and completely ignore etiquette? What kind of saying is this? All the teachers here have come from all over the world. Their original intention is to recruit students for their own schools, but it's also for the safety of these competitions. We don't have anything else, only the school's salary and prize money. Coming here, we don't have a single cent of profit. Then why did we come? After so many days of competition, who would first ask teachers have worked hard before going up the stage? If we disregard a few extremely rare students, this sentence is almost completely unheard of. It seems that the teacher's efforts, maintenance, and everything else is what they should do. Everything is so natural and logical. Everything is fair and reasonable. Is it really so? Is it like this? Is it so natural and right? Tens of thousands of miles, coming here from afar, under the scorching sun, taking care of, maintaining, protecting. Is it so natural and right? This teacher's voice was stern. Where has your respect for your teachers gone? Where has your respect and admiration gone? Where is your gratefulness hidden? Have your manners and respect been eaten by dogs? Especially you 10 captains. As captains, are you supposed to set an example for others? Just because Wuxiaoduo came up to greet you, you are dissatisfied, and so you are collectively indignant to this extent? You feel that you are being controlled? That you are being manipulated? That you are being framed? That you are being set up? This is supposed to be natural and right. How can it be a trap in your eyes? How can it be a trap? How can it be a scheme? Is your self-esteem and pride so unattainable and untouchable? Look at your eyes, it's as if you want to swallow Zhou Xiaoduo alive. Why? It's a very normal thing, a very ordinary greeting. How can it be worth bearing such a grudge? Since you don't want to greet me, just draw a lot and get lost. Do you think I care about you calling me teacher? In the end, all of you are gritting your teeth and greeting me with an ashen face. Are you greeting me or cursing me? In the future, when you come up to draw lots, other than Zhou Xiaoduo, don't greet me. I am just Zhao's teacher. And I don't deserve a greeting from you bunch of geniuses. On the stage, this teacher vented his anger for a long time. His face was ashen, and he left in a huff. Chapter 337. This round of scolding made all the teachers in the high school fall into deep thought. Some of them even empathized with him. The scolding made all the participating students turn pale and tremble. The 10 captains stood on the stage. Each one of them was embarrassed and at a loss. This round of scolding was truly a torrential torrent of abuse, dripping with satisfaction. The only one who was not scolded was Zhou Xiaoduo. He was even praised that each of them felt as if they had been fucked. In Shui City First High, the captain thought for a moment and suddenly took 2 steps forward. He stood tall, bowed deeply, and said loudly, "Teacher, you're right. This time I was wrong. I sincerely apologize to all the teachers. Thank you again. You've worked hard. I'll be forever grateful. My impoliteness this time will be a stain on my life. When I return to Shui City, I'll go to the old principal's don't return pagoda to face the wall and receive my punishment. Thank you, teachers. I know I was wrong." Zhou Yunqing's expression was clear. He bowed in all directions and left the stage with his head held high. The teachers' faces were filled with gratification. Even Zhou Xiaoduo's face flashed with a rare look of appreciation. This Zhou Yunqing from Shui City First High was indeed not an ordinary person. Perhaps some people would think that this Zhou Yunqing was very scheming and could take things lying down. However, Zhou Xiaoduo knew that this was not the case. This person was the kind of person who would rather break than bend. Once he knew he was wrong, he would apologize immediately. He would not wait until the next day. After Zhou Yunqing admitted his mistake and left the stage, the other captains could only apologize and thank him. However, the feeling of disgust in their hearts became even stronger. What the fuck was this? In this world, only Zhou Xiaoduo and Zhou Yunqing were sensible? If the two of you were so sensible, why didn't you go to heaven? The judges on the stage also felt uncomfortable as if they had eaten shit. At the beginning, Zhou Yunqing's apology sounded a little sincere. But what's up with the other 9 fellows thanking us with expressions as if they had just eaten shit? Were they that disgusting? Was it so hard for them to accept a word of thanks? Were they trying to disgust them? Students these days, each and every one of them has such low quality. One of the teachers sighed and said, "Each generation is worse than the last. In the long run, only martial arts will remain, but they will forget to respect their teachers and their teachings. If they lose their reverence, it will be a disaster for the entire human race." Another teacher looked further ahead. Not bad, not bad. This was a matter of atmosphere, and it was indeed not to be underestimated. Looks like we'll have to pay more attention to this aspect of teaching in the future. Another teacher nodded deeply. Indeed, we can't afford to slack off. No matter how high his talent is, if he doesn't have any humanity, how can we hope that he can wholeheartedly protect this continent? In the long run, it won't be rare for people to become immoral, casually use the names of their elders to abuse others, or use the deeds of heroes to insult others. We must put an end to it. Once discovered, we must punish them severely. Cultivation of the martial arts, cultivation of the mind, all of these are important. Not a single one can be missing. But now, people have neglected the latter too. They shouldn't have. Yes, remember to report this to the martial arts department when you go back. Alright. Below, the results of the draw were already being announced. Zhou Xiaoduo took the first lot and returned to his seat without even looking at it. "Who did you draw?" Wanli Xiu asked nervously. Of course it's a bye. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes. Zhua's the one who's picking. It's a miracle if he didn't draw a bye. Li Zhongming, the remaining match is yours. Let me tell you, Li Zhongming, if you fall asleep, I'll eat you alive. Zhua Xiaoduo gritted his teeth and threatened Li Zhongming. Immediately, Li Zhongming was so scared that his eyes widened and he was no longer sleepy. If someone else said this, Li Zhongming could laugh it off. However, Li Zhongming didn't dare to doubt Zhua Xiaoduo's words. If Boss was said that he was going to eat Li Zhongming raw, then it was really possible that he was going to swallow him whole. He could not afford to be careless at all. However, what Li Zhongming did not understand was why they did not separate Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu, even though they knew that he was a little unreliable. Why did they not separate Long Yuxing and Wan Lixiu and let them each take charge of one match? What's so great about the two of them? It was just a competition, yet they still had to eat mouthfuls of dog food. Yes, the two of them were indeed great. Hu Ruoyun and Hu Lai both heaved a sigh of relief when they drew a bye for the first round. This way they could deal with the situation more calmly. The six of them set off according to the arrangement and went to 5 different arenas to watch the show and spy on the enemy. Yu Moyan, you can try to find teacher Luo Yanling. If you don't understand, just ask. You must know how to use your advantages. Zhua Xiaoduo whispered to Yu Moyan. Yu Moyan blushed. Obviously he was embarrassed, but he still squeezed his way through. Luo Yanling was pleasantly surprised to see that Yu Moyan, who she thought highly of, was walking towards her. Seemed like he was going to watch the other matches. She was pleasantly surprised and took the initiative to welcome him. Yu Moyan, what are you going to do? Yu Moyan heaved a sigh of relief. It was good that he did not have to ask first. Scratching his head, he said with a troubled expression, we won't be participating in this match. Our boss assigned me a mission to spy on the other side. My target is the match between Water City First High School and South G First High School. As he spoke, his dark and thin face showed that he was in a difficult position. That's easy. Luo Yanling was worried about not being able to get closer to him. She immediately volunteered. I'll take you there. Is that okay? Yu Moyan's face was full of hesitation. What's not okay about it? Let's go. The match is about to start. Luo Yanling pulled Yu Moyan away. Zhua Xiaoduo, who was watching from afar, heaved a sigh of relief. He turned around and went to find teacher Ma Zhongxi. Hello, teacher Ma. Zhua Xiaoduo was as obedient and sensible as always. Zhua Xiaoduo? Ma Zhongxi had a very good impression of Zhua Xiaoduo. He smiled as soon as he saw him. His long horse face was smiling like a flower. You came to find me? Yes. Zhua Xiaoduo went straight to the point. Didn't we happen to have a bye this round? But luck can't be used to make a living. In the end, we still have to rely on our strength. I was thinking of going to watch the match between Hidden Dragon No. 1 Middle School and Garrison No. 1 Middle School. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you'll never be defeated. But according to the rules, our teachers can't accompany us. I'm afraid that I won't be able to understand some parts. Ma Zhongxi laughed. It's a piece of cake. Come with me. Okay. Ma Zhongxi took Zhua Xiaoduo and flew directly to the referee's seat. He said, this place has the best view. Thank you so much, teacher Ma. Zhua Xiaoduo's face revealed a bit of uneasiness and awkwardness. If I do this, won't people say, why don't I go down? Ma Zhongxi laughed. I'm standing here. Who dares to say anything? What kind of hothead is that? You can just stay here and watch. If anyone dares to fart, I'll kill him. The 6 referees at the side were all speechless. Chapter 338. After listening to Zhua Xiaoduo's speech, the teachers were filled with emotions. Just as Zhua Xiaoduo had said, any one of them would be able to wipe out this group of students without much effort. Not to mention, there was no point in comparing their combat prowess. Even with such rookies fighting each other, they still had to sit here and act as judges. They also had to analyze the specific situation, individual combat awareness, various aptitudes, and so on. They were really tired of doing the same thing every day for so many years, but they had to do it. If this group of little fellows could not grow up, who would take over the heavy burden of the other side? Which powerhouse did not start at this stage? Generation after generation of powerhouses walked out of the school and went to various positions. Each of them became heroes, role models, and legends. They were praised by the world and admired by the world. However, the teachers who taught them continued to stay at their original positions day after day. They continued to teach batch after batch of new students, who had the right to know their hard work and how difficult it was for them. Zhuoxiaoduo's speech warmed the hearts of the 6 people, but there was also a sour feeling in their hearts. It's not easy. An old man with a white beard sighed softly. It's rare that there are still children nowadays who can say such things. This old man is worth it. This time I traveled 17,000 miles to come here. Even if it's just because of this speech, this trip is worth it. Yes, Zhuoxiaoduo, you're very good. Another middle-aged female teacher said with sparkling eyes. Zhuoxiaoduo, do you have a high martial arts school that you like now? Ma Zhongxi frowned and said angrily, what are you trying to do? Zhuoxiaoduo's face was bashful and honest. With an extremely sincere look, he said, actually, this student has not thought of a good place to go until now. I want to ask the teachers of this school for advice, but the teachers of this school stay in Phoenix City all year round. Phoenix City is located at the border, so I don't know much about the outside world. Therefore, if teachers have any suggestions, this student will definitely listen with an open mind and consider them carefully. After hearing what he said, the 6 judges and Ma Zhongxi felt embarrassed to directly recommend their own school. Yes, the students trusted them and came to ask for advice. If he only wanted to pull them to his own school, he would be too selfish. If his school was one of the top 3 famous martial arts universities, it would be fine. But if it wasn't, it was only for the good of his school. What if he really hindered this child's future? With this child's aptitude, it was best for him to go to Ancestral Dragon in Shangjing. There was the most suitable teacher for him there. However, if he were to deceive her with flowery words for the sake of his school, it was a huge delay. Every school wanted a genius. However, there was one thing that could not be doubted. Only with a specific cultivation technique, a specific physique, and a specific environment could it be perfectly compatible. This was the principle of getting twice the result with half the effort. It seems that we still need to think about it carefully. The white-bearded teacher muttered to himself and slowly said, if you want to come to our school, we will naturally welcome you with open arms. However, if you only want a fair suggestion, you still need to seriously consider it. Zhuoxiaoduo respectfully said, thank you, teacher. Actually, it is still early. In this competition, the reason why my Phoenix City's second high school was able to come to this stage was not without luck. However, this student does not have the confidence to go one step further, or even to become the champion. Why don't I wait for the final results to come out and consult the teachers? I believe that at that time the teachers will have a better understanding of me. At that time the suggestions will be more valuable and more comprehensive. This child, you are really not bad. The few judges were very appreciative. It was rare that this child was not anxious or impatient. Moreover, he was so clear-headed. He was simply experienced in worldly affairs. Indeed, only at that time would they be able to make the most direct and comprehensive judgment. The bell rang. 2 teams appeared one after the other on both sides. However, the 12 people on both sides of the battle were all shocked. That kid with a face full of smiles and flattery, wasn't that the captain of Phoenix City's second high school? Zhuoxiaoduo? This bastard, why was he sitting at the referee's table? Oh no, he was sitting at the referee's table. But what was going on? We're all here for the competition. Why are you looking down on us from above? What's going on? Even if you were here to spy on us, you shouldn't be so open and aboveboard, right? Could it be that you were watching a big show? The few people from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School especially felt that they were no different from a fucking dog. Why the fuck are you haunting us? Go and look at the other teams. Why are you staring at us? However, now is not the time to think about this, because the battle was about to start. They really did not have the time or the mood. There was no time to be distracted. On the opposite side, the 6 students from the Garrison No. 1 High School were burning with fighting spirit. They deeply knew that there was a gap between them and Hidden Dragon number 1 high school. However, even if there was a gap, so what? If we fight to the death, we might still have a chance. Since that was the case, then, let's fight to the death. Everyone had the same thought, and their hearts shared the same reasoning. The moment the two sides came up, it was an explosive start of life and death. This battle was so fierce that even Wuxia duo was shocked. In the first battle, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school sent out a boy and the Garrison number 1 high school sent out a girl. The two sides fought fiercely and did not hold back. They fought until both sides were injured. One of the legs of the boy from Hidden Dragon number 1 high school was directly broken. The girl on the opposite side suffered countless blows. Almost 1/3 of her bones were broken. Finally, she could not bear the heavy burden and fainted. This was the end of the first battle. Hidden Dragon number 1 high school won the first battle. It was a tragic victory. This kind of tragic atmosphere made the hearts of both the referee and the students sink. In the second battle, the captain of the Garrison number 1 high school fought fiercely against the vice captain of Hidden Dragon number 1 high school. Both sides were injured. The captain of the Garrison number 1 high school was hit 7 times. More than 1 kilogram of flesh was shaved off his body. However, he forcefully knocked the vice captain of Hidden Dragon number 1 high school off the stage. He spat out more than 10 mouthfuls of blood and pieces of his internal organs before fainting. In the second battle, the Garrison number 1 high school won, but it was also a tragic victory. The name of the Garrison number 1 high school came from its name. It was said that this city was the place where the army was stationed before the war between the two armies in ancient times. Since ancient times, the people were valiant and did not fear death. The students of Hidden Dragon number 1 high school could be said to have perfectly inherited this valiant style. No matter who they met, there was only one word to describe it: fight. Even if they could not kill their opponents, could they not kill themselves? Now that they had met Hidden Dragon number 1 high school, they had already made up their minds. Even if they were to risk their lives, they would drag the emperor down from his high horse. After the fourth battle, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school had 2 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. There were no exceptions for the contestants from both sides. They were all covered with injuries, both internal and external. In the fifth battle, the captain of Hidden Dragon number 1 high school personally fought. On the surface, Wuxia duo did not show any change in expression. However, he secretly raised his spirits and observed with rapt attention. This guy was an old silver coin. He was practically the biggest old silver coin besides Laozi. Laozi must take a good look at this guy's background. In this battle, the captain of Hidden Dragon number 1 high school won rather easily. The atmosphere was much more relaxed than the previous 4 battles. The reason was simple. He had been forced to reveal his hidden embryonic breathing realm strength by his opponent. If he did not reveal his strength, which was far superior to his opponent's, he would have to bear a great deal of damage. Balancing the two evils, he chose to reveal his hidden strength and use his strength to suppress and crush his opponent. In the face of absolute strength, no matter how tenacious one's fighting spirit was, it was useless. Victory and defeat were clear. Wuxia's judgment was that this guy was still holding back his strength. However, based on the instantaneous eruption, he should be at the pinnacle of the embryonic breathing realm. He still had not reached the primordial elixir realm. Looking at the strength, this guy should be a ruthless character who has suppressed his cultivation. Wuxia duo thought to himself. At least 4 or 5 times he has suppressed the agitation of his vital essence. Moreover, he has already broken through to the high level of the embryonic breathing realm. The upper limit of his strength is very likely to be at the half step to the primordial elixir realm. It is rather impressive. In our team other than me, there is really no one else who is a match for this guy. 5 battles, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school has 3 wins, 1 loss and 1 draw. The winner is number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon. On the opposite side, the leader of the garrison store stood up with blood all over his body. He smiled slightly and said, "I originally wanted to fight all 6 battles, but unfortunately, I don't have the chance to fight the 6th battle. However, we have already tried our best. We have no more regrets." He looked at the people from number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon and said calmly, It is a pity that this is not a battle formation fight. This sentence caused the expressions of all the teachers present to change. The valiant spirit of the students from number 1 high school of the Garrison Store could be said to be the most suitable fighting style for a battle of life and death on the battlefield. If they met these people from number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon on the battlefield, the number of casualties would definitely be less than that of number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon. Even if their cultivation was far inferior, even if their realms were not as good, when it came to a battle of life and death on the battlefield, that the final winner might not be number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon. The leader of number 1 high school of Hidden Dragon was silent for a while. Then he said calmly, maybe, but in this battle we have won. The leader of the Garrison Store said calmly, from the beginning, we did not expect to win. We only used all our strength so that you won't have it so easy in the next battle. You people from Hidden Dragon have been in first place for too long. This time, even if we have to cripple ourselves, we will reduce your strength by 30%. He raised his head and looked at Duo. He smiled and said, Leader Zwa, do your best. Next year, I hope that Phoenix City's number 2 high school will be the defending champion. Duo laughed loudly and said, Thank you, thank you. You have worked hard. If it is really as you said, I will treat you to wine for a year. Words are like the wind. It is a promise. The leader of the Garrison Store laughed and waved his hand. Then, he carried one of his brothers on his back and another in his arms and walked down the stage with the other team members. Even though he was seriously injured, he still walked with his back straight and his aura was dignified. The people from Hidden Dragon turned their heads and looked at Duo. Their expressions were unfriendly. Chapter 339. Captain Zwa, your declaration is a bit premature. You may not even have the chance to fight against Hidden Dragon. The captain of Hidden Dragon smiled faintly, his gaze as sharp as a sword. You're right. Duo smiled and said, with Hidden Dragon's current situation, it's very likely that you'll be eliminated by other teams in the next round. If we can't fight against you, it would be a pity. The captain of Hidden Dragon knows his own limits. I'm ashamed of my inferiority. Let's wait and see. The people of Hidden Dragon also stepped down from the stage. Ma Zhangxi looked at Duo and asked, how do you feel? Hidden Dragon should still have a certain amount of hidden strength. Duo honestly expressed his opinion. In the eyes of these high martial arts teachers, this level of battle was really like playing house. No matter how much they tried to hide, they would be able to see through it with a single glance. Instead of wasting time and effort, it was better to directly tell the truth. They would be able to obtain more information. Yes, you're right. Ma Zhangxi sighed and said to the referees, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school has really taken the wrong path these past few years. The white-bearded teacher nodded and coldly laughed. In order to maintain the title of number 1, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school's fighting style has become more and more scheming. All kinds of fancy tricks. It's not presentable. That's right. In a battle between martial artists, it's always best to be fair and square. Hidden Dragon's thinking has gone astray. The more skills you have, the more cunning you have, the less iron-blooded you will be. Another middle-aged female teacher also sighed. If this kind of student maintains this kind of mentality and goes to the battlefield in the future, they won't be able to live for more than a few days. That's why our high martial arts school has an even heavier responsibility. We need to change these bad habits during the time when the students come to the high martial arts school to cultivate. But to change these bad habits, it's not something that can be changed in a day. It will definitely delay the progress of martial arts. Another teacher almost wanted to curse out loud. Is first place really that important? Maybe for Hidden Dragon number 1 high school. First place is that important. Ma Zhangxi said thoughtfully. Yes, Hidden Dragon number 1 high school is an affiliated school of Hidden Dragon High School. Another teacher sneered. Hidden Dragon martial arts, Hidden Dragon martial arts? In the past few years, Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts has almost fallen out of the top 3 of the universities. All of their brains must be filled with shit. To be able to remain in the top 3 despite teaching their students in such a manner, they must be extremely lucky. What a pity. Back then, Senior Yi Qianlong spent a lot of effort to create the Hidden Dragon High Martial School. How glorious was that? Sigh. What's the use of sighing? Of course, we still have to respect our seniors. However, when it's time to replace them, we won't let them go. It's hard for us to surpass the seniors' prowess, but can't we surpass those good-for-nothings? What a joke! When Zhou Xiaoduo returned to his seat, Wan Lixio and the others were discussing what they had seen. The atmosphere was lively, but there was still one person who had not returned. Li Changming. The match between Shirko No. 1 High School and Longbu No. 1 High School was still ongoing. Above them, the referees and leaders had already started a meeting to discuss the progress of the competition. No one would have thought that this round of the battle for the top 8 would be so tragic. Out of the 8 teams that had already fought, 4 of them were directly defeated. As for the remaining 2 teams, they were still fighting in an even more tragic manner. The current result was a tie of 3-3. The 2 captains were in the final battle of the 7th round. However, no matter who won or lost, these 2 teams were destined to not be able to participate in the next round of the competition. With little combat power left, what could they use to fight in the next round? So what should they do next? Zhuoxiao's Phoenix City No. 2 High School had a bye. Their strength was intact. It could be said that no matter which of the 10 teams they faced, Phoenix City No. 2 High School would definitely win. All the teams that lost were all defeated. At most, they only had 10 to 20% of their peak strength left. Therefore, Zhuoxiao's team could just go through the motions and be done with it. What should we do? A group of high school teachers had a headache over the current situation. If they were to rest for a day and then fight again, it would obviously be unfair to Phoenix City No. 2 High School. They didn't get the bye by cheating. One had to know that luck was always a part of strength. Did they have to use time to erase the other team's advantage? Then what was the point of them getting the bye? After the last 2 teams finish fighting, we'll rest for 4 hours. At 3 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll start the second round. Okay, call the 2 lead teachers and team members from Phoenix City. Let's give them some work. I hope they can understand. Okay. After all, an extra 4 hours of rest was still unfair to the teams that got the bye. Because as long as there were enough resources, 4 hours was enough to fully recover the strength of the participants. At least they could recover more than half of their strength. Phoenix City No. 2 High School might have to pay a lot of unnecessary losses because of this break. However, to the surprise of the high school teachers, Phoenix City No. 2 High School didn't care about this at all. It's okay. Rest for a while. It's meaningless for us to fight a team that's already crippled. We'll just be a joke to them. Zhou Xiaoduo and the others accepted it without any hesitation. It was so quick that it was surprising and even inconceivable. The tournament committee was very pleased with Phoenix City No. 2 High School's Zhou Xiaoduo and the others' way of thinking about the big picture. After a round of praises, the matter was finally settled. 4 hours later, the 5 defeated teams in Phoenix City No. 2 High School drew lots again to determine the final 3 spots in the top 8. However, no one felt that there would be any suspense. Phoenix City No. 2 High School had strong soldiers and strong horses. Until now, they had never fought together. Every time it was one person who defeated them. Even in the life and death arena, there was only one team leader. It could be said that they had come all the way to this point. In this kind of elimination round, no one thought that they would lose. 4 hours later, the 6 teams finally began to draw lots. Zhuoxiao's team was coincidentally the garrison shop. The 2 team leaders stood on the stage for a while. The garrison shop's team leader and the other team members looked at each other and smiled. We admit defeat. This decision disappointed the people who were prepared to watch a big show. There was a slight commotion for a moment. Especially the 5 teams who had already finished and won. They even gave up on recuperating and gathered around to watch the competition. Everyone knew that Phoenix City No. 2 High School would be their strongest opponent. At this moment, other than the best opportunity to understand the situation of the other party, they were also praying for the team from Phoenix City's No. 2 High School to exhaust all of their remaining strength. Use the last of your strength to whittle down the strength of No. 2 High School. In the end, just as the 2 teams finished drawing lots, the other team from Garrison Shop No. 1 High School directly admitted defeat. At this moment, the 30 people from the 5 winning teams cursed angrily in their hearts. Damn it! Tens of thousands of mythical beasts roared in their hearts at the same time. Duo was also puzzled. He immediately asked, "Thank you. Thank you for letting us win. If I have the honor to meet you in the future, I must be friends with you." The Garrison Shop's team leader laughed. "Our Garrison Shop's goal is to be in the top 20. Now that we have fought until now, it has already exceeded our expectations. Actually, our biggest wish in these few years is to take down the high and mighty hidden dragon #1 high school. Now we are not strong enough, so we can't do it. Then we will place our hopes on you. As inevitable allies, no matter who we meet in this battle, we will not linger. We will not be a burden to our allies." He laughed and began to introduce his team members. "I am Meng Zhongjun. This is the vice team leader, Hao Han. This is the team flower, Zhan Piapiao. This is Zhang Haonan. This is Feng Junqing. This is Jia Kuang. The 6 of us. We are all military families and children of military personnel." Meng Zhongjun and the other 5 stood together and saluted. "Congratulations to Phoenix City #2 High School for winning the first battle and slaying the hidden dragon." Xiaoduo's face turned serious. He shouted, "Everyone!" Li Chenglong and the others immediately lined up neatly and saluted at the same time. "We will do our best. We will not let you down." The 12 of them bowed to each other and laughed loudly. Then Meng Zhongjun waved his hand and led his team members out of the arena calmly. There was not the slightest bit of dejection. However, on the other side, none of the 5 victorious teams looked happy, especially those from Hidden Dragon #1 High School. Their faces looked as if they had just eaten shit. "Damned Garrison Shop." The 6 people from Hidden Dragon cursed. They didn't even try to hide their emotions anymore. When they fought against us, they fought with their lives on the line, not hesitating to perish together with us. Both sides suffered great losses, causing us so much damage. Now that they're facing someone else, they don't even fight. This group of bastards, their intentions are worthy of death. That afternoon, the top 8 emerged victorious. The rankings were as follows: Phoenix City #2 High School, Hidden Dragon #1 High School, Water City #1 High School, Yangluo #1 High School, Fenghai #3 High School, Songshan #1 High School, Phoenix Tail #1 High School, Dragon Belly #1 High School. Originally, Phoenix City #2 High School had a bye. According to the tournament rules, they shouldn't have been able to return to first place no matter what. However, when they faced Garrison Shop #1 High School, the other side chose to forfeit, allowing Phoenix City #2 High School to take all 4 points. Combined with their previous results, their total points were still the highest among all the teams. They were still ahead of Hidden Dragon #1 High School. This luck, they didn't fight for 2 rounds in a row and didn't suffer any losses. They were still in first place. That afternoon they drew lots. The 8 captains from Phoenix City #2 High School all took turns. This time, everyone learned their lesson and greeted the teacher first. However, the teacher's face darkened and he didn't say anything. When it was Xiaoduo's turn, Xiaoduo didn't greet him. He only smiled sweetly. The teacher actually took the initiative to greet him with a pleasant expression. "Good luck, Xiaoduo." The other captains held their breaths in their chests. They only felt stuffy. "What do you want us to do? Should we greet him or not? Last time we didn't greet him and he scolded us. Xiaoduo greeted him and he was praised. This time we greeted him first and his face darkened." Xiaoduo didn't greet him, but as the teacher, you actually took the initiative to encourage him. "What do you want us to do?" They were so angry that they trembled. Chapter 340. This time Xiaoduo purposely slowed down a bit. He waited for the other 7 people to finish before he picked up the remaining lot. At the extreme of the top 8, they would all meet strong teams. No matter who they drew, it would be the same. Xiaoduo didn't want to pick soft persimmons. On the contrary, he wanted to draw the strongest team, Hidden Dragon #1 High School. He wanted to defeat this most threatening opponent first. After drawing the lot, The captain of Hidden Dragon Number 1 High School suddenly raised his head and looked at Swishow Duo, who was holding the lot in his hand without even looking at it. He suddenly asked loudly, "Captain Swishow Duo, why aren't you looking at the lot?" Swishow Duo held the lot in his hand and put it behind his back. He said calmly, "We are in the top 8. Any team is a strong opponent. No matter who we draw, it will be a tough battle. What difference does it make whether I look at it or not?" The captain of Hidden Dragon Number 1 High School said calmly, "I have been looking forward to fighting against Phoenix City Number 2 High School." Swishow Duo said calmly, "Oh." One was keeping him in suspense while the other was not interested at all. The two of them couldn't even read each other's lips. They were like chickens talking to ducks. The captain of Hidden Dragon Number 1 High School expected to be asked, "What's the result of the lot draw?" However, Swishow Duo didn't ask, which made it difficult for him to continue the conversation. The captain of Hidden Dragon Number 1 High School had prepared himself mentally. He just narrowed his eyes and continued the conversation. However, he said, "I am very happy. The next battle will be between you and us." Swishow Duo said, "You put us in front of you. Do you think you will lose for sure?" "You will lose for sure." "Huh? So you will lose for sure?" "Yes, we will win for sure." "Yes, you are right. We will win for sure." Swishow Duo sighed, yawned and said, "How boring. You call yourself a captain? You can't even speak clearly. You keep repeating yourself incoherently. Let's go, brothers. Let's go back and rest. What do you think we should do tomorrow?" Long Yuxing and the others roared in unison, "Kill Hidden Dragon." Ha 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 ha. Swishow Duo beamed with delight. With a wave of his hand, the 6 of them left the arena in a single file. He didn't even give the other party a chance to speak. The members of the Hidden Dragon clan also wanted to shout like that to boost their morale. However, the other party left right after shouting and did not stay for even a moment. If he did not shout now, he would only appear weak and sullen. However, if he shouted now, his opponent was no longer around. Oh, they shouted for us to hear, and then we shouted for the air to hear? They couldn't help but hold back their anger. After holding it in for a long time, they finally roared, "Victory! Victory!" Then, he left the stage unhappily. At the judging panel, all the referees and teachers had amiable smiles on their faces as they danced in joy. This captain of Phoenix City's Number 2 High School is really something. A teacher clicked his tongue in wonder. Not bad, not bad. This tactic was used beautifully. It was done with ease and with reason. Yes. First, it was to pester the other party endlessly. Then the whole team roared and immediately left the stage. They didn't give the other party any chance to vent. This caused all the members of the other party to hold back their anger and not be able to vent. This anger will definitely be suppressed for an entire night. Let's not talk about the impact on their morale. If the Hidden Dragon clan can't adjust their mentality tonight, not only will they not be able to rest well, their mood will also be affected the next day. Just from weakening the other party's morale, attacking the other party's fighting spirit, and weakening the other party's fighting strength, it can be said to be a considerable success. This Swishow Duo is not only honest, sincere, reliable, intelligent, and awe-inspiring. Even the use of strategy and tactics is extremely ingenious. It's really hard to come by. He's a talent that will last forever. Teacher Ding Xiulan of Shangjing's Ancestral Dragon High School likes Swishow Duo very much. She didn't hide it at all. The others rolled their eyes. Although we also wanted to say that, "You said it first. Why did it sound so weird to me?" Hu Ruoyun's face was distorted. She laughed a little unnaturally. Every time I hear them praise Swishow Duo, awe-inspiring, honest and sincere. Why do I feel so guilty? That night Swishow Duo and the others had a good sleep. They didn't even do their daily cultivation. They slept soundly the whole time. They slept until dawn. They walked out of the room energetically and had breakfast. Then Swishow Duo began to chase them away. "Did you go to the toilet? Big or small? Who would want to do that? Go quickly. Li Zhongming, are you still sleepy today? Li Chenglong, your hemorrhoids have healed? Xiu'er, your relatives didn't come today, right?" Li Chenglong and Wan Li Xiu were furious. "You're the one who has hemorrhoids." "I don't have hemorrhoids," Li Chenglong scolded. You're the one who has relatives. Your whole family has relatives. Wuxia was embarrassed and angry. She wanted to kill someone on the spot. Well, if it wasn't for the fact that she knew she couldn't win, she would have done it countless times. Ha ha ha. Let's go. Zuo waved his hand. The 6 of them followed Hu Ruoyun and Luo Lai out of the hotel and went straight to the arena. The early morning sun shone on the faces of the 6 of them. It dyed their bodies golden and brilliant. 8 o'clock in the morning. The first arena. There were 6 chairs on each side. After entering the top 8, they had the basic preferential treatment. They didn't have to sit on the ground anymore. There were chairs to sit on, and they could see everyone on their side from the opposite side. With the start of the match, Swordsmanship took the lead and jumped out. His tall and handsome figure was tall and straight. The eyes of the opposite side lit up. The captain of the Hidden Dragon team stood up and looked at them from afar. He revealed a confident smile. The opponent is Swordsmanship. As the captain, he jumped out first. Since that's the case, I will cripple him. I will take the first step and destroy their morale. Naturally, he couldn't wait to jump out. Good. I'm the captain of Hidden Dragon Team 1, Shimin Daqing. Please enlighten me, Captain Swordsmanship. Shimin Daqing's face was solemn. He clasped his hands and bowed. Swordsmanship was stunned. You're the captain for the first match? That's right. Shimin Daqing nodded and grinned. As the captain, it's natural for me to take the first victory. Swordsmanship nodded. I admire you, but you have to wait for a while. This time, I'm not in a hurry to start the match. I just want to introduce my team members. Also, I'm not the first to fight. Please wait patiently. Shda. Shimin Daqing's face suddenly turned purple. He was stunned. You're not the first to fight? Then why did you jump out? However, he had admitted that he was going to fight in front of everyone. It was too late to change his words. He had obviously fallen into a trap. He was so angry that he wanted to swallow Swordsmanship. Swordsmanship, are you playing with me? Playing with you. Swordsmanship looked at him suspiciously. He sized him up and said, You don't have that organ. How can I play with you? Suddenly, his face turned pale. He took a step back and shook his head. I'll say this first. I won't take the back door. I'm a righteous person. Shimin Daqing was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Countless spectators were stunned for a while. Then they burst out laughing. At the judges' table. 3 of the judges at this table came from the 3 famous schools: Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts, Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts, and Yunduan High Martial Arts. Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts Ding Xiulan laughed and said, This temperament is not on the same level. Look at how angry the captain of Hidden Dragon High Martial Arts is. Sigh, poor kid. He's so angry before the fight even started. Even if they're evenly matched, once he loses his state of mind, the chances of him losing will be higher. Unless there's an overwhelming difference in strength. Another person, a teacher from Yunduan High Martial Arts, smiled and said, Swordsmanship has already angered him to this extent. How can he give him a chance to calm down? However, if Swordsmanship doesn't fight, it's basically impossible for the other little guys to defeat Shimin Daqing. This battle is not so much a battle of attrition. It's better to call it a battle of display. The other teachers smiled and nodded. This sentence was true. Swordsmanship had shown enough. This was giving the other students a chance to show off. And the strongest opponent, Shimin Daqing, was a touchstone. Because of Shimin Daqing's cultivation, the teachers knew better. In Swordsmanship's heart, it's already beyond the scope of victory and defeat. This kid is really good. Almost all the teachers had this thought in their minds. Sure enough, Swordsmanship laughed and said, Since you're in such a hurry and can't wait, then I won't be in a hurry to introduce our members, so as not to waste your time. Li Zhongming, fight. Li Zhongming shouted and jumped out with a whoosh. He took a few big steps forward. He raised his head and roared, I'm Li Zhongming from Phoenix City's 2nd high school. Today I'm going to fight to the death. I won't stop until my blood runs dry. He pounded his chest with both hands and roared ferociously like a chimpanzee. He looked unusually agitated. On the other side, Shimin Daqing was so angry at Swisao Duo that his mouth was crooked and his eyes were slanted. How could he not know that he had been tricked? But he had already come out. If he went back, it would only be more embarrassing. When he saw that the other party had only sent a small fry, he became even angrier. He was so angry that smoke was coming out of his 7 orifices. With a clear ring, the bell suddenly rang. The battle began. The moment the bell rang, Shimin Daqing's body soared into the air like a dragon and rushed toward Li Zhongming. End the battle quickly. Li Chongming shouted loudly. His body shook violently. However, he raised his hand in a split second, and a white mist suddenly rushed out. It directly sprayed Shimin Daqing, who was rushing over, all over his face. Shimin Daqing was shocked. He hurriedly held his breath, but the white mist had already sprayed on his face. It was really a large area of indiscriminate contact. He hurriedly landed on the ground and asked angrily, "You used poison?" Li Zhongming rolled his eyes and said, "If you don't know anything, then say you don't know anything. Have you seen such a high-grade poison? Besides, even if I use poison, so what? Did the rules of the competition say that poison is not allowed?" Shimin Daqing shouted and no longer spoke. He rushed over for the second time. Li Zhongming turned around and ran around the arena. He ran in circles as much as he could, but he didn't want to fight Shimin Daqing head-on. Shimin Daqing used his highest speed to chase, block and attack. Several attacks had already landed on Li Zhongming's body, but Li Zhongming completely ignored them and continued to run happily. "Why are you running? Make a move and fight." Shimin Daqing said angrily, "Are you here to fucking race?" The moment he opened his mouth, Li Zhongming suddenly stopped and flipped his hand. Pooh! Another wave of white mist greeted him. And when this wave of white mist came, he pounced forward. Fist and leg met, and he exchanged a few blows with Shimin Daqing. Then with a pu sound, he spat out a mouthful of blood and turned around to run again. Unfortunately, he ran a little too slowly. With a crack, one of his arms was broken by Shimin Daqing. Shimin Daqing gave chase again, but suddenly felt sleepy. As he ran, he couldn't help but yawn. He couldn't help but feel strange. Even if he didn't sleep well last night, he shouldn't be sleepy in the morning. Moreover, it was in this kind of fierce battle where his blood and qi were surging. He was thinking about it when suddenly, another wave of white mist rushed over. At this moment, Shimin Daqing was sure that this white mist wasn't poisonous. There was a high chance that it was just a trick. Without hesitation, he rushed through the white mist. With a flying kick, he kicked Li Zhongming, who was running in front of him, and sent him rolling on the ground. Then he felt his head become foggy. He became more and more sleepy, and his eyelids were fighting. His head became more and more confused, and he became muddle-headed, so sleepy. As for Li Zhongming, who was in front of him, it was unknown when he started to show signs of drowsiness and confusion. Gradually, the two of them, one in front and one behind, one chasing after the other, ran half a lap as if they were sleepwalking. They fell to the ground at the same time, sprawled out and fell asleep. Looking for monthly votes, recommendation votes, subscriptions. 6 updates. Chapter 341. Li Chongming's snores were deafening. On the other side, Shimin Daqing was also snoring non-stop. Huff huff. Huff huff. Huff huff huff. Puff. Shimin Daqing seemed to have entered a state of deep sleep. As he slept, he snored. After a while, he began to grind his teeth. Suddenly, he turned over and let out an unusually loud fart. A stench instantly filled the air. It was actually a loud and smelly super fart. This Shimin Daqing looked like a talented person, but his sleeping posture was actually so bad. Grinding teeth, snoring, farting, whistling, it was really not lacking. That handsome image of a tree in the wind suddenly disappeared. This caused everyone present to be astonished, amused, and confused. What was going on? Why did the two of them fall asleep while they were fighting? But the judges did not say anything and just watched them sleep. Could it be there was something else going on? On the stage, the 6 judges' faces were incomparably solemn, unprecedentedly solemn. Great dream, divine technique. It's actually the Great Dream Divine Technique. Ding Xiulan's eyes were shining. How old is this kid? He has already cultivated the Great Dream Divine Technique to the peak of the second level? To be able to pull people into a dream in the middle of a battle. Huff huff. Great Dream Divine Technique. It is said that this technique has long been in decline. For a long time, no one has been able to endure the difficult cultivation of the first few levels. Who is this kid? His surname is Li? He doesn't look very old, but he actually. A teacher from Yunduan High Martial Arts School stared wide-eyed. He was so shocked that he could not speak coherently. A peerless genius. Another judge sighed softly. Another peerless genius. This kid, looking at his facial features, he is definitely not more than 20 years old. Definitely not more than 20 years old. The eyes of all the high martial arts teachers lit up. The Great Dream Divine Technique that had not appeared in the world for a long time was actually cultivated by someone. Moreover, it was cultivated to the small success level. Don't talk, there are changes. Ding Xiulan's face was solemn. On the stage, the two people who were snoring just now had a change in expression. Li Chongming's face became serious and nervous. Shimin Daqing's face also became terrifying, manic, and ruthless. The battle in the dream has officially begun. Sigh, what a pity. Ding Xiulan sighed again and again. Li Zhongming was first injured. And then one of his arms was broken by Shimin Daqing. The outcome of this battle is uncertain. If the gap between the two of them was slightly smaller, Shimin Daqing, who had fallen into the dream of the other side's main battlefield, would have been crushed. What a pity. This is something that can't be helped. This Li Zhongming must have suppressed his own cultivation progress and realm many times. His foundation is much stronger than that of a normal student. However, Shimin Daqing has also suppressed his own realm. Moreover, Shimin Daqing's real cultivation is at the pinnacle of the embryonic breathing realm. Li Zhongming is only at the innate realm. Another teacher sighed. Just being able to drag Shimin Daqing into the dreamscape is already a miracle. The expressions of the two people who were lying down and sleeping changed again. Li Zhongming's face revealed a pained expression, while Shimin Daqing grimaced, giving off a feeling of gnashing his teeth. It was rare for anyone to see the battle between the two in the dream, but anyone could see that the battle between the two had reached a critical moment. Such a battle atmosphere was definitely much more dangerous than what could be seen with the naked eye. Suddenly, Li Zhongming's expression changed. Fresh blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth, instantly dyeing the ground red. Shimin Daqing, who was opposite him, also groaned. Traces of blood slowly flowed out from the corner of his mouth. Zhuoxiao's gaze was like an eagle's, watching the battle without blinking. After a while, Li Zhongming groaned. His body curled up, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood foam from the corner of his mouth. Shimin Daqing, who was opposite him, also groaned and started to spit out large mouthfuls of blood. Shimin Daqing is going to lose. Ding Xiulan sighed. Li Zhongming is undoubtedly a genius for being able to do this. It's a pity that if he wins this battle, I'm afraid his vitality will be damaged and his path of martial arts will be severed. Sigh. The other teachers were also understanding people. They all sighed and nodded. On the other side, Wuxia Duo, who had been paying attention to the battle, saw Li Zhongming spit out blood foam. When he took a closer look, his expression changed. He jumped out and said, "We admit defeat for this battle." Before he finished speaking, he rushed in front of Li Zhongming and slapped his dantian. He pried open his mouth and threw a pill in. Then, he poured a basin of ice water that he had prepared earlier on Li Zhongming's head. Then with a slap, he slapped Li Zhongming's buttocks heavily. This slap on the buttocks was loud and crisp. It directly resounded through the entire arena. It was extremely pleasing to the eye. Even though many people knew that this might be a necessary process and that the intention was to save someone, they still couldn't help but laugh out loud. Some people laughed while thinking, how fleshy is this buttocks to be able to make such a crisp sound that it echoed through the entire arena. Li Zhongming slowly woke up. When he saw Wuxia Duo, he spat out another mouthful of blood. He asked expectantly, "Did I win?" "I admit defeat for you." Li Zhongming panicked. "Then why did you wake me up? Give me half a minute and I'll definitely drag him to death." At the very least, both of us will be injured. Then you'll be crippled for the rest of your life. It's not worth it, Zhou Xiaoduo explained faintly. Then he dragged Li Zhongming back. After walking a few steps, he said, "If you follow my method, you can wake Shimendaching up. I'm a decent person. If I really don't like that, then I won't personally save him. I don't want to be blamed. In this world, there are all kinds of people." Li Zhongming was still in pain when he returned to his seat. He was so depressed that he kept muttering to himself, "I've embarrassed the old principal. I've embarrassed Second High." Blood and tears rolled down from the corner of his mouth. He wasn't putting on an act. He was truly heartbroken. Phoenix City's Second High had dominated the Longhu ranking battle. Until now, they had won one victory after another. Their only defeat had actually happened at his hands. Little Fatty's heart was extremely pained. "Your defeat can't be considered a defeat. You've contributed greatly, and will be the cornerstone of our victory today," Zhou Xiaoduo said faintly. "You've killed the person with the highest combat power among them. At the very least, his soul is severely injured. He won't be able to recover in a few days. Even if there are 100 more nourishment chambers, it won't be able to recover his soul quickly. I should have stopped you when you spat out the first mouthful of blood. However, if I did that, the price they paid would be too small. It wouldn't match your contribution. That's why I waited until now to stop. Although your injuries are more serious, you've directly crippled the opponent's highest combat power. I'm not lying when I say that you can't be considered a defeat. If you win this battle, you'll be the champion of the Longhu ranking battle. Your contribution will be the greatest," Zhou Xiaoduo said in a low voice. Li Zhongming said with tears in his eyes, "Don't comfort me. If I really steal your contribution, you'll definitely beat me up. It's not like I don't know. You like to settle scores after the autumn." Wan Lixiu, Long Yuxing, and the others who were squeezing over to comfort him, all spat out a mouthful of saliva. Zhou Xiaoduo was stunned. After a while he said, "Then you can cry. Cry until you die." "I won't cry anymore." Li Zhongming wiped his tears and stopped crying. "You just said that if we win this battle, I'll be the one with the greatest contribution. I'll be the champion in the end. You can't deny this." Everyone heard it. Shda. Zhou Xiaoduo rolled his eyes and remained silent for a long time. Li Chenglong muttered to himself, "Does this count as Li Zhongming sleeping with Shimendaching? Will the little fatty take responsibility?" Suddenly, this topic aroused everyone's interest. "Hey, you're right. Li Zhongming, this scumbag, seems like he's not going to take responsibility. TSK. Poor Shimendaching. He was slept with for nothing. Scumbag. Li Zhongming." Li Zhongming's face twisted. He really didn't have the strength to argue. Otherwise, he would definitely beat them up. At the referee's seat, a few high martial arts teachers watched as Zhou Xiaoduo dragged the person down and watched the people from Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School save the captain. After a long time, they looked at each other with strange gazes. Not bad. The 6 judges all looked at Zhou Xiaoduo and Li Zhongming's side. Their eyes were full of praise. Although Phoenix City No. 2 High School admitted defeat in this battle. However, there were simply too many things that were worth pondering over. In the dreamland created by the Great Dream Divine Technique, Li Zhongming was the absolute home ground. Even if his physical body was injured and his cultivation was limited, it seemed like he was at a disadvantage. As long as he continued to fight in the dreamland, Li Zhongming's advantage would only increase. Once it reached the point of life and death, the one who would die in the end would definitely be Shimendaching. This was already decided from the moment he was pulled into the dreamland. Of course, Li Zhongming, who went to extremes, wouldn't have a good ending. He was still forcing himself to enter the dreamland to kill people. The price he would have to pay in the end was very likely to be the end of his cultivation, with no way forward. But no matter what, in terms of winning or losing, Li Zhongming was still the winner. And Zhou Xiaoduo admitted defeat before his life was in danger. Just when Shimendaching's soul was confirmed to have been damaged and his internal organs burst and spat out blood, just when Li Zhongming was about to kill his opponent, he admitted defeat. The teachers were all asking themselves, if it were me, would I call for a stop at this time? After thinking about it, they couldn't make up their minds. But the more it was like this, the more reliable Zhou Xiaoduo seemed. Because in Zhou Xiaoduo's eyes, what they cared about was worthless. What he cared about was his brother's life and future. Such a person was definitely worth entrusting his back to at any time. It's not that he didn't care about winning or losing. It's also not that he couldn't bear to kill Shimin Daqing. He just cared more about his brother's injuries. He knew that he would win if he continued fighting, but he would rather admit defeat to ensure Li Zhongming's safety. He wouldn't hurt his foundation and have a limitless future. This kind of breadth of mind is worthy of a toast. Ding Xiulan's eyes were shining as she glanced at Zhou Xiaoduo. But she pursed her lips and didn't say anything, which was rare. This kind of talent must be recruited. Talents and geniuses were different. Geniuses were aptitudes, but talents were all round. The matter of recruiting people to the school had to be carried out quietly. It had to be settled once the hammer fell. If there was a disturbance and new problems arose, it would be bound to be a long night with many dreams. At that time, it would be hard to say who would emerge victorious. They had to enter the village quietly. Don't shoot. Chapter 342. The referee from Hidden Dragon High School had a gloomy expression. He looked at Shimin Daqing, who had vomited a few mouthfuls of blood and fainted again. His eyes were filled with unconcealable disappointment. But when he looked at Zhou Xiaoduo, his gaze became more and more fervent. These years, Hidden Dragon High School has been getting more and more biased. The iron and blood aura is getting thinner and thinner, the wind of the big picture is getting weaker and weaker, and the air of a king is getting weaker and weaker. We really need a good leader. And this Zhou Xiaoduo is ruthless to the outside but protective of the inside. He will not be soft-hearted when he needs to be, and he will not hesitate when he needs to give up. The rarest thing is that he values friendship and righteousness, and he is especially steady when looking at the big picture. He is an honest and sincere person, and has a pure heart. He is a good candidate for a king. If Hidden Dragon High School carefully nurtures him, he might be able to turn the bad wind around and turn the rotten into the spring breeze. The more the teacher thought, the hotter his gaze towards Zhou Xiaoduo. Originally, the focus of Hidden Dragon High School's enrollment had always been on Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School. This way they could guarantee that the people they brought out would always be their own people, and they would not have to worry about other forces. But in recent years, Hidden Dragon High School's image had been getting worse and worse, and their external results were getting worse and worse. The feedback from the students who went out was also not very good. Hidden Dragon High School's image could be said to have plummeted. Many old stubborn people were still carrying out the current policy, and they felt that there was nothing wrong with their insistence. But there were already many teachers who were thinking of changing. Zhou Xiaoduo looked at the aura of the people on the other side carefully and said, "Next, you can fight as you wish. As long as they don't send out the vice-captain and the two girls, we can win one match and even the score." Li Chenglong was a little worried and said, "What if they send out? Are we going to lose another match?" "It doesn't matter if they do. At most we will lose another match. It won't affect the big picture." Zhou Xiaoduo laughed arrogantly. "I will go up and beat the rest of them in one go. Once we are done, we can call it a day." Da. Li Chenglong rolled his eyes and said, "Then I will go up." "Yes, that's good. Remember this, and your chances of winning will increase." Zhou Xiaoduo lowered his voice and said, "They've been sparring more than fighting. Their life and death experience is far inferior to ours." Li Chenglong's eyes lit up. Understood. In the previous match, Hidden Dragon High School was the first to fight, and Li Zhongming was the one to fight. Although they lost, it was a glorious defeat. But this time, it was Phoenix City's second high school's turn to fight first. Li Chenglong took a step forward, and the other side began to discuss. Li Chenglong smiled faintly. "My name is Li Chenglong. I come from Phoenix City's second high school. I am the vice-captain of our team." The self-introduction was complete. Everyone knows each other's information by heart. Is there a need to discuss for so long? Opposite. After a round of discussion, a slender and elegant girl in white stood out. Her facial features were exquisite, and her clothes were as white as snow. Her long hair fluttered in the wind. She was very beautiful. Hidden Dragon High School, Xiangbing. The two of them bowed to each other. Please. Zuo Duo called out from behind. Feng Feng. Don't be mesmerized by her beauty. Even if you like her, wait until the fight is over. Only the winner has the right to talk. Xiangbing's face turned red. She looked at Li Chenglong with a bit of anger in her eyes. Li Chenglong still wanted to explain, but the other side's attacks were already coming at him like a storm. Feng Feng steeled his heart, but he did not dodge or evade. Instead, he charged forward with brute force. In this match, both sides did not use any weapons. They were fighting in close quarters. Xiangbing did not use any weapons, so naturally Li Chenglong did not use any. Only the sound of banging could be heard, one after another. The other side looked like a quiet and delicate girl, but she was actually fierce and frightening when fighting. However, Li Chenglong had been trained by Zuo Duo. His skin was rough and his flesh was thick. His resistance was far better than ordinary people. He managed to hold on all the way. This round of fighting lasted for a full 3 to 4 minutes. The sound of drums kept ringing. Finally, after a deep muffled sound, both of them somersaulted and stood facing each other. Zuo Duo spat out what he saw. Li Chenglong's nose was bruised and his face was swollen. His eyes were black and blue. His mouth was cracked and blood was flowing out. On the other hand, the beautiful woman in front of him was also disheveled. She had 2 panda eyes and her hair was disheveled. Her nose was broken and it looked a little flat. Her small mouth was swollen from the beating, and the skin on the other side was broken. Chest, lower abdomen, thighs. There were 7 to 8 black footprints on her white clothes. There were also overlapping ones. Li Chenglong was rubbing his wrists, while Xiangbing was moving her ankles. Both of them stared at each other, as if they were looking at a mortal enemy. Zuo Duo was not the only one who was stunned. Even the audience in the audience were all spitting out their mouths. Even the referees were stunned. To be honest, even with their vast experience and knowledge, they had seen many men and women fighting. However, it was the first time in their lives that they had seen such a fierce fight between a man and a woman. Li Chenglong did not know what it meant to have tender feelings for the fairer sex. He did not know what it meant to treat a beautiful girl well. Her face, neck, nose, chest, lower abdomen, thighs, and buttocks. He really hit wherever he could. He did not show any mercy at all. If it were other men, who would not have a manly demeanor? Who would have the nerve to punch another person's beautiful face? It was better to chop off a woman's head than to ruin her face. This was almost a convention. Ancestral Dragon High Martial Arts teacher Ding Xiulan sighed. This kid is actually the legendary Iron Straight Man. He belongs to the category of Iron Straight Men. If he finds a wife, she will be his punching bag. The few male teachers were also thinking in their hearts. If Li Chenglong came to their school, they might really have to take care of the problem of finding a partner. Otherwise, looking at his behavior today, he would definitely be a bachelor for the rest of his life. One must know that this competition was broadcasted live nationwide. Li Chenglong became famous in an instant. He was even more famous than Zuo Duo. Zuo Duo directly beat the beauty to death. Many people online who did not know the truth scolded him. Such a beauty was beaten to death just like that? It was too wasteful. Did he not know how to take advantage of the situation? However, when it came to Li Chenglong, the internet was boiling. My mother asked me why I was kneeling while watching the live broadcast. Because I found a rare Iron Straight Man. Legendary level is not enough to describe him. Only mythical level can describe him. What a fucking straight man. Oh my god. This girl's face is not enough for me to kiss for a year. He directly disfigured her. Look at the footprint on her chest. Oh my god, can you feel the soles of your shoes? Her pair of phoenix eyes were beaten into pandas. Her cherry lips became a ripe watermelon. TSK, this big brother, I'm kneeling to you. This kid even tore her hair. Fuck, look carefully. The beauty's ear. Fuck, this kid tore her ear. He almost tore it off. Let's talk about it later. They're fighting again. They're fighting again. Everyone hurriedly looked in the direction of the sound. They saw that the Iron Straight Man once again launched an attack and fought with Miss Xiangbing for the second time. The muffled sounds of fists hitting flesh were heard almost continuously. Blood splattered everywhere. Looking at her current appearance, no matter how outstanding Xiangbing's talent was, or how strong her cultivation was, she was now an ugly monster. She was really beaten up too badly. The two of them continued to fight in this most extreme way until they were exhausted. Only then did the speed of their punches slow down. Every time there was a bang, everyone in the audience, including the audience who were watching the live broadcast, could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They all had a subtle feeling that they did not want to watch, but they could not let it go. In the end, the two of them were no longer fighting. They were competing to see who could take more hits. Admit defeat. Li Chenglong fiercely punched Xiangbing's originally perky but now bloody nose. His expression was unprecedentedly ferocious. I really don't want to hit a woman. As soon as this sentence came out, everyone felt a toothache. You fucking. Haven't you hit enough? If you want to hit a woman, how are you going to hit her? Dismembering him by 1,000 cuts and tearing him into pieces? Go to hell. Xiangbing fiercely rushed forward. Li Chenglong roared. His bloodied face twisted with a ferocious expression. His whole body rushed forward and actually knocked Xiangbing to the ground 7 or 8 meters away. Then, Li Chenglong pounced forward. His whole body crossed the 7 or 8 meters distance. With the force of a mountain, he suddenly pressed on Xiangbing's body. His two legs skillfully twisted and separated, separating Xiangbing's legs. Then he used his body to press down on her body. Panting heavily, he roared, "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" Xiangbing struggled desperately, but Li Chenglong simply grabbed both of her hands and pressed them on both sides of her head. Then he lowered his head and roared, "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" No. Xiangbing struggled desperately and shouted, "Even if I die, I won't admit defeat." Li Chenglong freed one hand and punched Xiangbing's face. "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" With a shout, he punched again. Another punch. Another punch. All of them smashed on the originally beautiful face with great force. "Do you admit defeat? Do you admit defeat?" Wah! Xiangbing cried. Suddenly, she gave up all of her struggles and wailed, "You bully!" This sudden cry stunned Li Chenglong. This punch did not hit her face, but hit the ring beside her head. He said in a daze, "Why are you crying? Shit. We were having a good match, you actually cried. Why are you crying? Why are you crying? You actually have the face to ask her why she is crying?" Countless men who were watching the live broadcast banged their heads against the wall. A wave of speechless emotion surged in their hearts and gushed out, but they could not say anything. "I'm so angry. I'm so angry. This straight man bro, please be merciful and let me go." Chapter 343. She was a top-notch beauty. Yet he had beaten her until she was unrecognizable. Then he had posed in such a typical position of rape, she was already powerless to fight back. Yet he still wanted to punch her again and again. And he didn't allow her to cry. That was awesome. That was really too awesome. That train of thought was admirable. The eyebrows of the few judges twitched wildly. Without saying anything, they hurriedly announced, "In this battle, Phoenix City Second High School's Li Chenglong wins." On the ground, Xiangbing was still lying limply on the ground, crying loudly. Li Chenglong was still riding on her. He was about to stand up when he heard the announcement. However, the moment he relaxed, Xiangbing scratched his face crazily. "Fuck." Li Chenglong hurriedly pressed down again, suppressing the person beneath him for the second time. With swollen eyes, he shouted in a sorry state, "Someone quickly come and get her off. I don't hit women, da." Everyone was speechless and speechless. Just this battle, which lasted less than 10 minutes, had made Li Chenglong famous on the internet. Famous all over the country. He was respectfully called Brother Iron and Steel by millions of netizens. Moreover, each of them swore to the heavens that in this lifetime, there wouldn't be a second man who could be steadier than Brother Iron and Steel. Countless people worshipped him as their idol, but only when another girl in white from the opposing team came to support Xiangbing did Li Chenglong dare to let go. He was still on guard, afraid of being attacked a second time. When his swollen eyes swept across the other girl in white and he was about to say something, the girl in white, who was also in the embryonic breathing realm, actually shuddered. Her pretty face instantly lost its color, and her eyes were full of panic. She hurriedly carried Xiangbing and ran away like a wisp of smoke. She probably wouldn't run away even if she saw a ghost. Li Chenglong. Xiangbing was still struggling in the girl's arms. She bared her fangs and brandished her claws while crying loudly, "Li Chenglong. Sob, just you wait. I won't let you off in this lifetime." Li Chenglong stood on the spot blankly. He scratched his head and advised, "Miss, why are you so concerned? It's just a competition." Xiangbing cried even louder. Li Chenglong returned to the team and received a hero's welcome. Zuo Duo, Long Yuxing, Yu Moyan, and Li Zhongming all bowed deeply in unison. They looked completely convinced and impressed. "Boss Li, I've never been convinced by anyone in my life, but this time, all of us are completely convinced by you." "I'm convinced." "Really?" The expressions of the four of them were extremely solemn. They shook their heads and sighed, feeling ashamed of their inferiority. All of this came from the bottom of their hearts. "Tell me about your thoughts." "Thoughts?" Li Chenglong was swaying, and his mind was a little muddled. "I think it's all thanks to Zui beating me up every day. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to last this round." As he spoke, he had already walked to the side of the group. Suddenly, his vision turned black and Li Chenglong fainted. In this round, to be honest, Swollen was also beaten up very badly. Li Chenglong's opponent's real strength was always one whole level higher than his. The whole process was a head-on melee combat. Other than testing each other's ability to resist attacks, it was also a competition of real attack power. All the skills and techniques were almost completely useless in this battle. It was like two bulls smashing into each other and hammering each other. If you beat me, you win. If I beat you, I win. There was no shortcut. Xiangbing was already prepared before the battle. She had an elemental energy elixir under her tongue. Li Chenglong did the same. Both of them used up the 2 elemental energy elixirs that could instantly replenish their vitality. It was just that extreme. That was why the battle was so tragic. It's understandable that I came up with such a strategy for Swollen. But why did the opponent choose such a strategy? It doesn't make sense either. Zuo Duo was really puzzled. Letting a girl use this kind of close combat method, wasn't the organizer of the opposing team too brainless? Little did he know that Xiangbing was the descendant of the ancient martial arts family, the Xiang family. Her family passed down the Overlord Fist, which was best known for close combat. Although Xiangbing was a girl, she was known for her valiance when it came to fighting. She never used any weapons. No matter what enemy she met, she would clench her fists and fight. The Overlord Fist focused on momentum. As long as the opponent showed any signs of fear or dodging, the rhythm would be immediately controlled by the opponent. Then, little by little, the advantage would be accumulated, and the advantage would be turned into a victory. In the end, it would be unstoppable. But today, when she met Li Chenglong, she met her nemesis. Li Chenglong did not plan to use any techniques from the beginning. He directly used the battle formation and the strategy of the brave winning in a narrow path. Without dodging or evading, it was a strong attack that went straight for the center. Then there was an extreme situation where the two sides attacked each other, using strength to fight strength. As a result, Xiangbing, a beauty who scored more than 90 points, was beaten up by Li Chenglong until her face was disfigured. This brother iron did not have any scruples at all. Eyes, nose, face, small mouth, soft breasts, long legs, and none of them could escape Li Chenglong's merciless attacks. Swollen's thoughts were simple. I want to win the competition. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. I'll take care of you. Even if you're beautiful, you're not going to be my wife. Why should I give in to you? Besides, didn't they say that men and women were equal? Today, I'll be completely equal and treat everyone equally. After this battle, there was a short period of silence. Even the spectator stands were silent for a long time. Everyone was reflecting on the battle just now. and a thoughtful look appeared on their faces. The 6 judges looked at each other. Everyone felt that they had not woken up from the atmosphere of being struck by lightning. This Li Chenglong. His reputation is completely ruined. One of the high martial arts teachers smacked his lips and said regretfully, "It's a pity if he doesn't have a future. How about this, our Dragon Soul High Martial Arts Special Recruit? We can't possibly give up eating because of choking and delay a child." "In your dreams." The other teachers roared angrily. Who said that he could not have a ruined reputation? If such a steely straight man was placed in the school, he would definitely shatter the dreams of those girls who had a serious princess syndrome and thought that they should be treated well because they were beautiful. Who said that they did not want him? We need him too much. On the spectator stand, Luo Lai's eyes were wide open. He was dumbstruck as he watched. After a long while, he took a deep breath and shook his head repeatedly. Luo Lai really can't teach such a student. Qin Fengyang is really awesome. Hu Ruoyun also had a look of amazement on her face. It was a marvelous sight. The 3rd round. It's your turn to send out someone first. Zhou Xiaoduo came out and shouted, "That beautiful girl in white, don't come out and get beaten up. I have 4 steely straight men like Li Chenglong on my side." On the other side, the girl in white could not help but take a step back. Her face was filled with fear and she even trembled. Too scary. There were 4 people like that. The vice captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School could not help but be angry. You just believed what the other side said? It was unknown if there were 4 steely men like that in this world. How could they all be on the other side? However, the girl in white was obviously scared before the battle. Her state of mind was already broken. Even if she forced herself to fight, it would be difficult for her to do anything. Looking around, he could only stand up himself. He had to take down another city. Now the winning score was 1-1, and there were still 2 unconscious people on his side, that their morale had been suppressed too badly. Coincidentally, Zhou Xiaoduo on the other side also had the same thought. After a few days of fighting, Yu Moyan's position was basically set in stone. He was definitely a member that would be settled. Long Yuxing and Wanli Xiu were destined to be inseparable. No school would let go of such a good opportunity if they wanted 2 geniuses. Therefore, Long Yuxing and Wanli Xiu were already safe. Today, Li Zhongming's great dream divine technique had shocked everyone. He had already become the focus of attention, so there was no need to worry. Finally, Li Chenglong's name had also shaken the world through the battle just now. He was also in high demand. In this way, his entire team had already been marked in the eyes of the judges and martial arts teachers. Then all that was left was to win. If they only needed to win, it was really easy and not difficult at all. Zhou Xiaoduo laughed out loud and swaggered out of the room. Vice captain of Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, let me play with you. On the other side, Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School's vice captain's face was a bit dark. Among all the people in Phoenix City No. 2 High School, the one he was most afraid of was Zhou Xiaoduo. He knew that he didn't have much chance of winning against Zhou Xiaoduo. But now what he was afraid of had happened. He directly faced this murderous star. Hidden Dragon No. 1 High School, Xiang Chong. That Xiang Bing just now is my sister.